Broadcasting stations. It's time for Sportstime on Sports56 and 98.5 FM. The first hour of Sportstime is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
All right, welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you on a Thursday afternoon and a very busy Thursday, I guess you could say, here in the Mid-South after what happened last night between Memphis and Rice. The Tigers lose another one. It's starting to feel like Groundhog's Day, Brett, where it seems like every time we come in here,
it is
we're talking a loss. But I mean, it has not been good, and another loss for the Tigers. So we'll talk a lot of that today. But like I said, Bryant and Brett with you. Brett, how are you this afternoon?
I'm well. Happy February 1. It is Groundhog Day. I don't know what Punxsutawney.
What did we see?
O'Phil saw or not.
I didn't actually know today was Groundhog's Day. That's news to me.
February 1st?
Tomorrow, February 2nd.
Sorry?
Yeah, no, you're good. A day off. We'll know.
Phil gets another day.
Phil gets another day of rest.
Good luck, Phil.
I hope. If he sees a shadow, that means.
I've never known.
Oh, man. I think spring. I'm hoping for spring.
6 more weeks of something.
That's all I know. It's 6 weeks, one way or the other.
The name Punxsutawney, I think that's the county.
Yeah, it's something like up there wherever they do it. He's got a little top hat on him. I mean, great groundhog. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better groundhog than the one they got up there.
It's a little bit of a creepy scene.
I mean, kind of.
It's almost the witches of Salem without being witches and being in Salem.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, they're all dressed up old. We're listening to what an animal has to say. I mean, it's.
You ever had a top hat on?
I have not. No, I want to though. It sounds like a fun thing to
One
wear.
of the great covers of Sports Illustrated ever.
Okay.
The cover, the year they won it with Magic Johnson, he was on the cover of the college basketball edition in tux, tails, and top hat.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Good-looking cover. One of those when you say best Sports Illustrated covers.
Classic.
That's one that always comes to people's minds. That's a great one.
And last week with the news of the end of Sports Illustrated, a lot of people were talking their favorite covers. Mm-hmm. Mine was the cover after the U.S. hockey team.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
In Lake Placid, and I think that was the only cover that had no headline. Usually it had the masthead, Sports Illustrated, the date and the price, and Bulls reign supreme.
Sure.
And that one had nothing. Just that
spoke
picture.
For itself.
It did.
I mean, that's a
coming
really
up soon.
Good one. It is coming up really, really soon.
Always does in February.
Well, that's true. It certainly does. But have we done enough to try to avoid the topic of the day yet, Brett, or should we continue to go? Because I'll spend 3 hours talking about groundhogs if it means not talking about this Tiger team.
I don't know if I could match the intensity on the groundhog conversation for 3 hours. No, we're going to talk about last night and a lot of conversation on this station and around town, everywhere I've been so far today.
Sure.
Everybody truly talking about it, stunned, and we are. We were on alert that it could happen. As we said on Tuesday with Dave, after you blow the 20-point lead at home to South Florida and you go to overtime with UTSA, just about everything's in play.
Sure.
And it certainly is now for the remainder of the season. Saturday against Wichita State, arguably the best the Tigers have played all year, in pounding them by 26 when they played them in Wichita a couple weeks ago. But they're a really bad team. They've lost 9 of 10. Yeah. They've won one time since December 16th, Wichita State. Yeah. But it's in play Saturday. Everything is 5 home, 5 road. Not going to lose them all. Not going to win them all.
Right.
I think probably about 3-2, 4-1 at home, and about 2-3, 1-4 on the road. That gets you nothing.
No, it doesn't. I mean that was I think a huge backbreaker last night.
It was.
It felt like, and I was talking to a lot of people last night and today about this. Is I feel like I've been able. I don't want to use defend because defend's not the right word, but the 3 previous losses, especially those 2 first ones, I could understand to an extent. Losing after up 20 is hard to explain. UAB concerned me a lot. But then at home against a team like Rice is just inexcusable. I mean, there's no way to defend it. There's no way to understand it. It just shouldn't happen.
I don't know anybody trying to.
No. Nobody's trying to defend it.
Coach, players, administrators, anyone.
Maybe
diehard fans.
That's the wrong word because it's more just understand it, I guess. Because I don't think anybody. I've talked to so many people today.
Incomprehensible.
It really is, and I'm hearing people trying to come up with the reasons for that loss, and it seems like nobody really can figure out the one reason or couple of reasons why it happened, because it shouldn't have happened. This team, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about it being a 3 seed and a top 10 team, and now just how fast it has fallen to now 4 straight in a row. And I would assume tomorrow morning when Joe Lunardi puts out his bracket, they will be either in that play-in game or completely out of the bracket altogether.
Joe will speak tomorrow. Doesn't Jerry Palm do his thing later in the week too?
I believe so.
Well?
I looked at both of them to make sure before we came on air that neither of them had updated it, and neither had. So I'm assuming we'll probably get both tomorrow.
And starting Monday at 4:30, our friend Shelby Mass from BracketWag.com, he will join us, and you and Johnny need to step aside as U of M Alumni Association president. I don't know what Shelby Mass knows, but I hope he's right. He still has the Memphis Tigers as 11 seed.
All right.
Not even last 4 in, certainly not first 4 out or next 4 out. He's got last 4 in: Nevada, Providence, Butler, Oregon.
All right. I'm
Looks like a line drive in the scorebook, doesn't it?
I love Shelby Mass.
I don't
love
share
what
that
he's
optimism
thinking.
of Shelby's.
I don't either, but hey, I'm with him. And I just want to point out, and maybe I shouldn't be pointing this out, but you talk about the Alumni Association. I was the only one that backed the Tigers last night. No, I shouldn't have. I just thought maybe give them one more chance, Brett. I will not do the same when we make our picks late this weekend. Or no, it's Saturday. We probably won't have a line. Whenever we make our pick for the Wichita State game, I will not continue backing the Tigers.
If Shelby is correct, he's got the Tigers as 11 seed playing Colorado State as the 6th seed in Salt Lake City.
I don't like that matchup
Winner
at all.
gets the winner of Duke, Eastern Washington.
I don't like
That's
that one
as
either.
rosy as
Yeah.
I can put it.
Yeah, that sounds awful
Thank
to
you,
me.
Shelby.
Thanks, Shelby. At least he hasn't been,
Godspeed.
right?
We'll
Right.
visit Monday.
I also, Brett, looked up NIT Stu
You didn't.
over on the Barking Crow while I was doing my rounds, just to see if they updated.
What's Stu got to say?
I believe, and
nice jacket, Stu.
Brett, I've been keeping this to myself, but I looked last Friday to see what was going on in the NIT bracketology on the Barking Crow. And I think they had either a tweet or on their bracket, they had it somewhere, and they said, don't look now, but we might get Memphis back or something like that. And I was like, oh, man.
That's all the more reason for me not to look now.
Oh, man. And so I looked today. I think they update theirs every Friday, so we might get –
Stu's not real time, huh?
No, we might get NIT bracketology tomorrow
Who's the
as
other
well.
NIT? Like NYC Hoops, NY something?
I'll have to look it up. I'm not familiar with their work. I'm only
way
an
too much
NIT
NIT
Stu
bracketology.
guy. Yeah. Didn't think we'd be here, Brett.
To know about I think most people would be with me on if there's NIT bid, turn it down.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that we would be talking NIT on the 1st of February? Welcome February and welcome NIT. I mean, I never thought we would get here.
Never. You know, in the Cal years, especially the early years when he went to the NITs and won the NIT, you could make the case, especially when you had some semblance of cohesion. All right, we got, freshman starter, two sophomores and a junior of our 5 starters, got 4 out of 5. Let them win, progress. It's a little bit like in minor league baseball once upon a time ago, of let them win together at Double-A and Triple-A. Well, they don't stay together now, even at minor league. It's useless to have minor league baseball playoffs. Just absolutely waste of electricity. And the NIT is largely that, especially now with all the portal movement. I guess you can make a case in 21 when the Tigers went to it and won it, and that was the Dallas Metroplex NIT where a lot of teams passed. I wasn't for that. Some to many were, and with a young team, but a lot of those guys, some of the key contributors like Boogie, like DJ, that got home to the victory parade and
left.
One was off to State and one was off to USC. It was largely pointless to go to that then. It certainly is now, but that is where we are after last night, 74-71 loss to Rice in one of the worst efforts the first 22 minutes I've ever laid eyes on in Tiger basketball history. A lot being said today about, and some saying worst loss ever. I don't think it's the worst loss ever. I think it is the worst conference loss ever.
Sure.
Certainly the worst conference loss at home ever. I think the worst loss ever in Tiger basketball history was Coach Dana Kirk's first year with really just a really bad roster that he didn't inherit much, and until he started recruiting and a man named Keith Lee got to town, it wasn't much going on with the Tigers. I don't know how he scratched out the modest around 500 seasons he did those first 2 years. Well, he was a great coach. That's how he did it. He was a great coach, a great tactician, and scratched out those modest seasons, 13-14, 14-13, those first 2 years before Mr. West Memphis Blue Devil got to Memphis. But in that first year, 79-80, they lost to Wisconsin Parkside.
Ooh.
I think I have said Superior.
Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, I got it confused.
Yeah, I think you have said.
I have said Superior. It was Wisconsin Parkside, and it was outrage over it. I remember it well. Now there was, it was 2 newspapers in town. There was 3 TV stations in town. There was 1 talk show in town, and I remember the host George Lapidus being outraged by losing to Wisconsin Parkside, and the fans and the reaction of that to that was much like it is today. A silver lining last night, and I mean this complimentary, I really do.
Okay.
With the role the Tigers have been on, I was expecting Tubby Smith scan count. It was almost 6,000 in the building scanned.
It was a good
the box
crowd.
score fudge is 11, but the scan was around 5,800, call it 6,000.
Sure.
Again, at most places on a Wednesday night in college basketball, that's really, really good.
Oh, absolutely.
At a lot of places, I'm going to say out of 360, what?
Yeah, 362.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is now, yeah.
That's capacity.
Yeah, it's really good.
At 250.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, the fans, they tried hard. I think Saturday in front of the national TV cameras with CBS here, we'll try again. But like I said on Monday, he's not being fired.
No.
He should not be being fired. I'm not going to go full George like George did one day. Guess where I was sitting?
You're right here. I mean,
and
always.
It was at the end, and it was getting very hot on Josh Pastner. George started the show. He's not being fired. He shouldn't be being fired. If you think he should, shut up.
All right.
I'm not going full shut up, but George did, and he could.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not, and I can't. I'm not going to. But he's not being fired.
No.
But what we do know is that we all fear now what I said Monday after the UAB loss, is we all fear it's not going to end well. And we all so hope that it would. And in the 6th year, I don't see anything that tells me, next year will be better. It just doesn't. I hope next year will be better. I wanted them to win last night. I didn't want them to suffer through this indignity today. And when they got up 3 with 3 minutes to play, I thought they would pull it out. 3 times in my sports life have I been watching games against much lesser opponents that you finally scratch back and get a lead, get tied, get close, and go, whoa, if you can just pull this out, okay. The first one was Arkansas playing the Citadel in 1992, 3-3. Had a scoop and score for Citadel. They win 10-3. When it got to 3-3, I thought, well, they'll get a tie. You could tie them. They didn't. They got a loss. Jack Crow got fired the next day. 2010, opening day of Ole Miss season in 2010, Houston Nutt's 3rd year at Ole Miss, led most of the day against Jacksonville State, got it to overtime, got ahead in overtime, batted first in the top of the inning in overtime like you don't want to. You want to bat last. You want to go second. Scored. I thought, told someone in the press box, I said, I'm going to pull this out. And Jacksonville State was probably the best team. Well, he was not over yet. They hit a touchdown, go for 2. They have the walk-off win. Last night was the same feeling, up 3 with 3 to go. Going to steal this one, pull this out, and hopefully learn from it, but was not able to as Rice was just money down the stretch from the free throw line and from some long-range bombs.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. And Brett, I'm glad. I just want to point this out. I'm glad you pointed out Wisconsin Parkside. Okay. They lost their last game, so just like the Tigers, same boat as the Tigers. A 76-54 loss to Grand Canyon. Grand Valley, not Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon is the D1 school. Grand Valley State. They played at night, so thank you, Brett. I'll be watching Parkside tonight in their game. But no, it was an ugly game last night from top to. What did you think? I know we're going to get to top and not top story here in a second, and we'll talk more about this in our next segment. The new starting lineup. We knew we'd kind of been heard. Yeah, I didn't understand it. We had John.
I know it's positionless, but you really need a point guard to play basketball.
You really do, Brett. And Jonathan Pierre, Naquan Tomlin were both inserted into the starting lineup. Nick Jourdain and Javon Quinterly were moved to the bench. But
it's a cry for help. Coach Hardaway's trying anything.
He's trying anything. And to me, putting Jonathan Pierre out there is him telling the team, he worked super hard in practice all week. He's starting. Y'all are not giving it all. Y'all aren't going to start. And trying to light a fire in them. He didn't. Well, and Brett, we talk about him. He always says he wants to shorten down the lineup. What did we see? 10 guys in the first 11 minutes.
Table.
I mean, everybody played. It was really a really strange night.
And Rice is particularly bad.
They're a very, very bad team, Brett. There's no denying that at all. We'll talk a lot more Tigers throughout the show, but let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. Like I mentioned, 3:30, we'll get back into this conversation, talk about what happened last night in that game against Rice, a 3-point loss for the Tigers at home, their 4th in a row. 3:45, we'll take a look into the future at the road ahead for the Tigers, what the rest of the season
5 home,
will look
5
like
road.
now. And all going to be very important games for this
and
Tiger
around
team.
the conference, and who's around you.
I love it.
In, 4 out.
I love it. Well, yeah, it's going to be fun.
And quad talk, one of my favorite conversations.
Quad talk. It's quad 4 loss last night, Brett. But we'll talk about the future for the Tigers in the conference, rest of the schedule, all of that at 3:45. 4 o'clock, we'll jump into the NBA with Keith Smith from Spotrac and the front office show. A lot to get to with Keith, a lot of injuries going on. And
LeBron
also
and AD both scratched
both
up.
out tonight, which is huge against the Celtics. We also got to talk. We're a week away.
TV partners can't love that.
No. They did not like seeing that news at all. 4:30, we'll get to some Grizzlies talk. They've got a game tonight against Cleveland. Cavaliers playing really well right now, so we'll talk about that at 4:30. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, we'll get back to some Tigers with Greg Gaston. He was on the call last night for ESPN+. We'll talk a lot
First
of Tigers.
loss Greg took all year.
Is it really?
So.
I didn't even think about that. But we'll talk a lot of Tigers at 5 o'clock again with Greg Gaston. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending. And at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Taco Bell Crunch Time.
We're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Floor model sale ongoing. All floor model patio sets are priced to move. Wicker sofa set under $2,000. Closeout patio cushions as low as $25. Pool tables under $1,500. Theater seating under $2,000. 4-person hot tubs under $5,000. Infrared and traditional steam saunas 25% off. Get ready for summer and purchase your above-ground pool now to get first in line for installation. Special financing available. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
Well, and also get the texts in. Text lines are wide open. I want to hear y'all's thoughts before we get to top and not top story. 901-360-8255. Text us in. Let us know your thoughts of the game last night going forward and what you're seeing because we will be talking a lot
What
of
kind
Tigers
of hope
today.
do you have? Well, I mean,
that's a good question.
Where are you out there on kind of the general understanding? And when the facts change, we'll change with general understanding conversation.
Sure.
But today, he's not being fired.
No.
He shouldn't be fired.
No.
There's no need in humiliating Penny Hardaway. And that's one of the tough things about hiring him.
Yes.
You did, because do you want to have this kind of parting? We want your text. We want your calls at 901-360-8255.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day, it's got to be what we saw last night at FedEx Forum. Tigers in Rice, I think everybody.
Can it be any other story?
I mean, that's probably top story, not top story, what I learned today,
It's
what I
top
could have
local
done
story
without.
Of the year.
It really is.
Leader in the clubhouse.
100%. I mean, I think everyone saw that game last night as, okay, you've lost 3 in a row. You're obviously not playing well together. You're not playing well as a team, but regroup. Get a win. Maybe, we always talk about, especially sports like baseball, where, if you're in a slump, you really just need that one win. You need to get that win, and then things can turn around. And so I think a lot of people viewed last night's game against Rice as that, and it was far from it. A really pathetic offensive performance in the first half, and I mean, just looking at the numbers, as a team in the first half, Tigers shot 34% from the field, 0 for 8 from 3, and turned the ball over 10 times in that game with only 2 assists. Just a really bad performance. We mentioned the starting lineup: Jonathan Pierre, Naquan Tomlin, David Jones, Jaquan Walton, Malcolm Dandridge. Just could not give them much of anything offensively. On the other side, Rice started off slow, like we said, not a very good team. They turned the ball over a lot. They made a lot of mistakes, but they took advantage of this really poor performance from the Tigers, got out to a lead, and something that I really noticed between this Rice team last night and this Memphis team last night, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it in our next segment, Rice was constantly talking, both offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball.
Bowl.
They were talking, they were pointing, they were on the same page all night long. Guys were constantly moving, setting screens, cutting to the basket, just all in. On the other side, the Tigers not talking at all. When they got the ball in their offensive end, 4 guys on the perimeter, Malcolm sitting at the free throw line, no movement, guys just standing around wanting the ball.
Hate each other.
I mean, it was really, really eye-opening performance last night.
You know what the name of the Rice's coach is, don't you?
Brett, I have no idea. I really don't.
Last name is Para.
Really?
Could argue biggest win by anybody named Para at FedEx Forum this year.
I mean, it really is. I don't think any argument about it.
Awful. My top story, it's not just the loss 74-71 to Rice, but it's the 6 years of Penny as head coach. It was throwing deep. I didn't see the need in it, but I wasn't opposed to it. I was scared of someday getting to the days that we've gotten to before today, but now is just the full recognition of a lot of people being at this day. And we're there now. If throwing deep, if it worked, I thought it would work out gloriously. But if it didn't, we would be at this conversation point, this inflection point, this kick point, this really sad day that we've gotten to. We're there. He's not going to be fired. We went through that once before very painfully with Larry Finch. Let me tell people that don't know about Larry Finch. Larry Finch was a really good coach. He had gone deep into NCAA tournaments. Well, some of that was with a player named Penny Hardaway. And he had won a lot of games, much more established, much more ballyhooed, certainly through 6 years as a head coach than Penny Hardaway has achieved so far. And Larry Finch, as a player, was bigger than Penny Hardaway. He took a team to the last night of the year for the first time ever. Penny Hardaway never did that. Penny Hardaway got to an Elite Eight, got blasted by Nick Van Exel in Cincinnati for the 4th time that year. And then in the next year as a player, Penny Hardaway was out after a round 1 loss to Darrell Mee in Western Kentucky. There's no comparison to anybody that knows. Now, if you were playing T-ball in the D.C. suburbs in the early part of the 21st century, you don't know that. Or if you hadn't been around here, you don't know that. But there's no comparison between Larry Finch and Penny Hardaway, but we don't want to go through that again. It will be an expensive divorce, an expensive settlement, whatever it is, negotiated, stepping away whenever it comes. I don't think it comes this year. I don't think it should come this year. It may not after next year. I would bet he's got at least 4 years left on current deal.
Yeah, something like that, I think.
You might even play that all the way out to the last day, and he just knows that when the contract runs out, you're not being fired, you're not being terminated, you're just not going to be the coach anymore. Now, can you handle that at the box office? Can you handle that with donations? Can you handle that with suites and sales and sponsorships? And can you handle it with NIL? How do you go out and pass the hat this offseason for NIL after swinging and missing so badly last summer?
Good question.
Not top story of the day.
And we know, how many people he replaced this year, and it just has not
It's going to be very
out.
expensive.
100%. My not top story of the day, getting away from Tiger basketball a little bit, even though, like we just said, it could be my top and not top story very easily.
It is for me.
But the Commanders hire Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. All the noise had been around Dan Quinn in Seattle. We talked about
and Dan
Seattle
Quinn's last game is D.C. and Dallas.
Yep, that's right. And so, I thought maybe when the Seahawks went a different direction that meant Dan Quinn would come back to the Cowboys, but no, he gets the job with the Commanders. And, I've heard a lot of people or some people talk about that kind of lasting impression in their mind of a Dan Quinn defense, of that playoff game against Green Bay where Green Bay just made it look easy all afternoon. And so I don't view it like that. I thought Dan Quinn was a great defensive coordinator. He had a lot of success as a head coach, but now he'll be facing the Cowboys in the same division.
What's the first thing you think of when you think of Dan Quinn?
I think defensive coordinator. But
I think 28-3.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people think, and that is not something I think that will follows you around positively. But now he'll get another chance with the Commanders, who are in a weird spot, certainly a rebuilding spot.
Day, the collapse was not on him. The collapse was on the offensive play calling that day.
But still,
he was the head coach.
Between that and his last game as a Cowboys defensive coordinator, hard to run away from both of those.
Yeah, that's a lot to try to deflect.
Yeah.
And don't notice that, anybody. It's pretty easy to notice. My not top story, exactly what got accomplished last week during Camp Penny, I truly asked that. We heard 3 months off. I'm really serious now. And then you go to UAB and play like that, and then that lineup last night, and this is the result. This is where we are. Last week feels like it was a big waste of time. Whatever was done last week, not a lot got accomplished. And for the one that asked the embarrassment question 2 years ago around this time, well, last night, post-game, Penny Hardaway, in the availability with the media, he said, "This is embarrassing." Mm-hmm. I hope that person's glad he got his embarrassment question in.
Yeah, I hope so. Last night was not fun at all, but that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break, because on the other side, we're going to talk more about what happened last night as the Tigers lose at home to Rice, their fourth straight loss in conference play. So we'll do that next on Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every $1 you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's off Highway 64 in Bartlett, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Progressive presents an ad from Mom.
Hello? Is it on? Oh, okay. Bundle your home and auto insurance with Progressive and get protection round the clock. Round the clock? Does this generation even understand what round the clock means? But I'm just saying, because don't come to me when they ask to do this over, because the kids won't get it.
Get round-the-clock protection when you bundle and save with Progressive. It's easier than getting your mom to make this radio ad. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Looking for the most thoughtful, most romantic gift for the one you love this Valentine's? At Genesis Diamonds, celebrating love is what we do. Maybe it's a simple pendant, or maybe it's an exquisite, one-of-a-kind designer ring. Genesis can help you pick out the most memorable and special piece of jewelry for the occasion. And to make it even sweeter, now till Valentine's, whether you spend $199 or $199,000, Genesis will give you some chocolates, fresh flowers, and dinner out at no charge. It's a one-stop ultimate Valentine's experience. When you buy any piece of beautiful jewelry, we'll give you a bouquet of beautiful flowers, some yummy chocolates, and a gift card for dinner at Restaurant Iris. So join us at Genesis Diamonds. See our spectacular collection of rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, and more. Priced from $199 to $199,000. Let our non-commissioned experts help you find that perfect ring that'll warm their heart and, for years to come, be a symbol of your love. And we'll throw in the chocolates, flowers, and dinner as our treat. Happy Valentine's Day from Genesis Diamonds. On Poplar at Perkins Extended. At quantity, see store for details.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. All alone, not too bad at the moment as far as accidents. Now, some road work continues out here. It caused some delays yesterday, and it looks like it's starting off that way again today during rush hour traffic on 40 East over here at White Station. Also, at times, it can run slow. 240 East passing Walnut Grove. Sam Cooper looks pretty good right now going outbound over here at Perkins. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your Valentine's Day headquarters. Go by and see them. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Indeed, Lexus of Memphis, our title sponsor of this hour, and we appreciate them oh so much. They're at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-334-9673. Great offers on all 2024 models and always special leasing options. The one and only Lexus dealership in town. Driving luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2024 flagship LS500. You'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis. I want to elaborate on my comparison of the end of Larry Finch. That was brutal to live through. To live through as a Tiger fan that I have been since his junior year at Memphis State, since Larry Finch's junior year at Memphis State, the 71-72 season, the year they got into that jive game up at Vandy to play off the tie that they had defeated Louisville twice in the round robin, but they had the same number of wins and losses, and the league declared a tie, and only the winner of the conference went to the NCAA tournament. Louisville goes on to the NCAA tournament, or the Tigers very easily would have gone to back-to-back Final Fours under Larry Finch. And Gene Bartow, God rest his soul, what a good man. He went to his last day madder than hell over that night, and I don't blame him. And the refs up there were a disaster, and playing at Vandy and those inlay was a disaster. But how it ended for Larry Finch, it really ended in overtime in Kansas City in March of 1995 in a Sweet 16 heartbreaking loss to Arkansas in a tic-tac call on Chris Garner late in the game. It had been a veritable Bruce Lee movie all night between Corey Beck and Chris Garner, and the Tigers were on the short end of a really horrible call. And they lost. Mingo Johnson was great. They lost, and then some recruiting shortcomings, some not signing some local players, and that was kind of spelling the end for Larry Finch. And his health was very, very bad. People that were really close to him that I knew well and knew him pretty good were telling me about that then, and it went out in an inglorious, horrible fashion at a concession stand at Freedom Hall in Louisville.
Yeah, no.
We're not going through that again.
No, we're not.
We're not going through that again. I don't know what entreaty or who would have to make it to get him to meet halfway. And I don't think any of this has to come after this year.
No.
But the rest of this year has to show a little more hope than the last 3 games have shown, last 4 games have shown, especially the effort at UAB and last night. I didn't think the effort – well, the second half against South Florida was pretty bad. The effort at Tulane I didn't think was bad.
No.
And you know, that's the loss in this grouping that way back when we did season W's and L's. We're okay by that.
Absolutely.
Not
they
okay,
always
but
have trouble at Tulane.
Always. But let's not make it Cameron Indoor. But we always have trouble.
But they always have trouble.
And the South Florida 20-point second half lead, that was bad. Then that effort Sunday, the Matador defense, and then the effort last night. And the straight line drives for layups or for dunks, it's just incredible to witness and to watch. The effort is shaky. Last night, trying to send a message. Some of the coaching was shaky.
Sure.
And you get this result and you get this reaction.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think the biggest problem I have, and Brett, I've been stressing for a couple weeks now about this defense, and everybody's been screaming about the defense. But when you watch and you take some of those clips from last night and just watch some of those possessions, it's basic defensive principles that the Tigers are struggling with defensively. It's screens. Are we switching on screens? Am I going to go under him? Are we communicating? Are you going to hedge off this screen? And it's stuff that they are not doing. And, one thing I saw last night, there was one play where Rice sets a screen, guy runs around, backside, gets up on the opposite wing, and David Jones is supposed to be guarding him, and he is so focused on the guy that has the ball that he completely loses his guy. Then they set a down screen
Almost
on
did
that.
A pirouette.
Yeah, and everyone's completely lost. Nobody's helping. Even when David Jones is lost and they set a screen to get that shooter even more open, nobody helps up and everybody's lost. And it was just something like that on most every defensive possession for the Tigers last night. And Rice, here's the thing, Rice is not a good team, but one thing they will do, because they know most teams they play, they are not going to be better than talent-wise. They're going to, run a lot of sets. They're gonna have fundamentals, and they beat Memphis last night with fundamentals. You could see them pointing different things, screens, cutting, moving all the time. Fundamentals that Memphis could not beat because they did not have fundamentals defensively.
Do you think that one carload of Rice fans we made mad pointing out their futility historically?
I think they're.
Where do you think they are on the road back to Houston?
I hope they had a safe travel back, Brett, and I hope they were cheering.
Hope we never see you again.
Hope they were cheering the whole way back, Brett, and again, hope we never see
One of those clowns on the radio. No, we went in there and won our Super Bowl 74-71.
Literally. Crazy.
Did you think when they wrestled the lead back up 3-3 to go that it was good tidings ahead?
No, I did not. I
let me down easy, Brian.
I'm sorry. I just had this bad, eerie feeling.
Did you really?
I did, and not like before the game. It wasn't one of those games where I was going into the night like, I think they're going to lose this game.
I said Tigers win 84-72 just around the point spread.
I watching that lineup out there, watching how they came out, because I think, I can understand going on not really, but I can try to understand going on the road in a kind of a sleepy environment and coming out flat. Hard to understand it at home.
Definitely down.
Yeah, hard to understand it at home, and that's what they did. And so watching that, and then just watching the way they were getting shooters open, their big guy, Field Fedler, whatever his name was, they were running everything through him. And I just had a bad feeling even when they went up. No, Max Fiedler, or whatever his name was.
Didn't he play quarterback for the Dolphins?
I think so. Wow, dual sport.
No, okay.
But I just had a bad feeling, and I guess I was unfortunately right. Yeah.
It was worth it. Last night the box score was grim. I listened to all the post game. Coach Hardaway bounced right out there post game.
Yeah.
Right to Dave, as I think he should. I was critical after he didn't Sunday. He did last night. It's a real strange dichotomy with his radio comments and then hit in front of the assembled print and TV. On radio last night, listened to every word. I did not tape it. I don't think I can. I don't think we could play it even if I had. But it was mostly, it's all the players.
Sure.
Then in front of, and I saw the entire video that someone shot inside the print TV area, and it was like you should as a coach. This is on me. Yeah. I take full responsibility. That's all you can say after you lose. When you win, give them credit. Give the 12th man credit. Give the walk-on practice players credit. When you lose, it's got to just be, it's all me. Yep. You can't explain it. And he has gotten in trouble through the years with blaming players and trying to explain it. Now, you can take that hit in front of the media, both with Dave immediately and with the print and TV assembled a few minutes later, and then behind the scenes, absolutely light them up.
Sure.
I went out there and I took the hit for y'all, but it's not on me. It's on you and you and you and you. We're teaching you what to do, and you're not doing it. You can do that all you want, but you cannot. You've got to. You just cannot keep blaming them, because ultimately it is all on you. No matter what somebody's making NIL, Penny Hardaway's making more than anybody at that. Right. At that athletics department.
Yes. No, you're right about that. And something that jumped out to me listening, I listened to most all of the post-game radio show. I'd kind of forgotten about it, and I go, I want to hear what Penny has to say. I want to hear what the players have to say. I want to hear what Dave has to say.
Well, I listened to the whole game on radio.
Yeah. And so I flipped it over, and I heard Penny, and then I heard he was joined by Quinterly and Jourdain. And I think both older guys. I think both very, very smart when it comes to basketball IQ, especially Nick Jourdain.
I think they've been a fun listen to all year.
Absolutely. Nick Jourdain's been great whenever he's been with them. But Dave asked Nick Jourdain a question, and I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but it was basically something along the lines of, we've heard about the kind of disconnect in the locker room. Has that been fixed? Has that been addressed? Is the locker room together? And Nick Jourdain's response was, he kind of sighed. You kind of heard him kind of let out this big exhale. And he goes, well, we got to make sure it is, or something like that. And it was not, he kind of jumped around, yes, not committing to, yes, we are together, we are a team. And so I don't want to point everything to chemistry, because I think there are things on the floor that you can see this team doing that you can maybe attribute to chemistry that's just not working out. But certainly there's something wrong with this team behind the scenes.
And I've heard and seen a lot of the conversation today, social media, Twitter, X, this radio station. It's the only one I listen to, I promise you. And I've heard people say he's losing this team. You need to change that to lost.
Yes.
It's no present tense to it. He has lost this team, and I don't know how you get it back. The simplest way would be Saturday against a team that you just handled easily by 26 points in playing Wichita State. But I don't know if there are any guarantees. I don't know the right lineup to put out there. And I don't know that he does. And, here's one thing about the Penny Hardaway years. It was not necessarily the case the first year. It was not. But there was some saying, just listen to Sam Mitchell and you recruit, you be the front man, and learn a lot.
Sure.
But it wasn't a lot of that. And I thought, for what was expected, pretty good first year.
Sure.
From then on, there's always been that assistant, whether it was Mike Miller, Larry Brown, Frank Haith, and now Rick Stansberry, that you get so much conversation about, just let Rick coach and you get out of the way. Well, has the recruiting been good enough to just and is he ambassadorial, pardon the pun, with the ambassador program, is he big enough that you just put it on Cruz and let him be figurehead? No. He's got to do something.
Yeah.
He's got to win.
Got to
do it.
Yeah. Brett, I'm curious because I've heard a lot of people point this out today, and I don't really know where I sit on it. And we just got a text message. Tiger fan Bill texts in. Thanks for the text, and it's kind of alluding to that about NIL with the age of paying players and egos and all of this. His text says, I think we're seeing the beginning of the end of college sports with the paying of players. Memphis basketball is an example. And what I'm guessing he's alluding to is you get these egos, you get the locker room, this guy's making this much, this guy has this car, yada, yada, yada. And that breaks up the locker room.
Tough toenails.
Yeah.
And respectfully, Bill, I really do mean it. Thank you so much. And anybody else texting at 901-360-8255, we're going to keep it respectful.
Yeah.
But respectfully, I disagree with you. I'm hearing that from everybody not doing well.
Right. Exactly.
Anybody doing well in NIL, you don't hear that around Dalton Connect.
Right.
He's the new favorite toy.
Right.
You don't hear it. You don't hear it at places that are going well. You only hear it at places and also the equivalency crowds out there. I've seen and heard this. Well, Arkansas's having the same disconnect with NIL. They got locker room trouble, and maybe one's quit and two or three more talking about quitting. Yeah, they do have that. Eric Musselman went to a Sweet 16 last year and two Elite 8 the two prior seasons. If Penny had done one of those three things, we would have already renamed Poplar.
No, you're right about that. And so
stop the equivalency.
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of with you on NIL. Is it the teams that you see everyone pointing to? Oh, NIL's problem there. NIL's problem there. It's the teams that are struggling. And I was having this conversation with somebody the other night, and I said if NIL was an issue, it'd be an issue everywhere. Every team would be talking about this because it's happening everywhere. I mean, you think North Carolina's third in the country. They bring in, a couple transfers. They have a lot of transfers on that team this year. You think those guys are all making the same amount of money and they're all, great? And someone told me, well, it's because their coaches handle it better. Well, then it's not the NIL problem.
Then
it's a different problem.
That's a different
problem. Exactly. And so I'm not completely there on NIL. I'm sure, that could be a factor when you have, if you do have locker room issues, that could
NIL's not
pour
going
on.
away.
No, it's just starting, and I'm glad these players are getting paid. So it's a mess. Last night was a mess, and the Tigers now 4 in a row, including a couple of home losses in there. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we're going to stick on the topic of the Tigers. We're going to look ahead to the future, what's coming up for the Tigers, what the rest of the season looks like for them and around the conference. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch us daily with live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Hi, this is Jonah Gamble, left guard for University of Memphis football. Let us help you use your home's value for all those projects or vacations you've been putting off. Now you can borrow up to 100% loan to value. No closing costs for loans $50,000 or less. Online banking accessible. Interest-only payments for the first 10 years. You can apply at southernsecurity.org or by calling our member service team at 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender. Southern Security is a proud sponsor of the University of Memphis.
Hi, folks. The Chevy Sheriff with good news for car and truck buyers. The Sunrise Chevy Ranch has acres of new Chevys and GM certified in stock and ready for immediate delivery. A $6 million used car inventory with cars and trucks for every budget, and a lot specializing in cars and trucks under $99.95. If you've been turned down by another dealer, see us at Sunrise. We specialize in secondary financing, and Sunrise is the home of guaranteed credit approval. Immediate financing available. Cars and trucks may not be free, but at least they're affordable at Sunrise. Find new roads to the Sunrise Chevy Ranch, 385 in Houston, Levy, and Collierville.
Progressive presents an ad from Mom.
Hello? Is it on? Oh, okay. Bundle your home and auto insurance with Progressive and get protection round the clock. Round the clock? Does this generation even understand what round the clock means? But I'm just saying, because don't come to me when they ask to do this over, because the kids won't get it.
Get round-the-clock protection when you bundle and save with Progressive. It's easier than getting your mom to make this radio ad. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
At Edwin Watts Golf Shops by Worldwide Golf, there's something that binds us all. The collective goal to transcend the ordinary. Introducing the new Callaway AI Smoke Driver. The new AI Design Club has multiple sweet white spots across the face, making it an average of 7 yards longer than the prior model. Visit us in-store for a free custom fitting at your local Edwin Watts Golf Shops or shop us online at worldwidegolf.com. Get there.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Well, we talked a lot about last night's game, the loss against Rice. Tigers really struggling right now on the court. 4 in a row, but now the road ahead, Brett, you mentioned it a couple times earlier. 5 home, 5 on the road to end the season. Next game, quick turnaround, as we know in conference play. Saturday morning, noon tip-off on CBS against a Wichita State that they found the most success they've had all conference play was against Wichita State in that second half.
Look great. And you've had your open date. That was it last week, and as my top story, as I said, it was largely squandered. It was wasted. Fill in the blank for me at 901-360-8255. This is the lowest point in Tiger basketball since. Since when? I know there'll be some Drexel in there. That was in the NC tournament.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference. I know some will say, up whatever with a few minutes to play in San Antonio. It's not a lot of consolation. You came in second.
You did.
That wasn't last night in front of almost 6,000 against Rice.
Against Rice at home against a quad 4 opponent.
For me to fill in that blank, I think I'd have to go back to Tick Price and that horrible ending on and off the court. It was not how it ended totally for Larry Finch. I just don't want to go through that again.
Right.
And I don't think it's necessary to go through that. And that's what I was scared of on the day he was hired. And everybody for 6 months after that was wanting to write about his shoe game and his suit game and his airplane game and him speaking at the touchdown club. And I was saying then, none of this makes a Tinker's you-know-what. He's got to win. You've got to win.
Got to.
This is a bottom line, no doubt about what you have to do. It's not feel good. It is sports. It is still the ultimate meritocracy. If the season ended today, it does not. But if it did, the Tigers would be a 7 seed and would play on Thursday night at Dickies Arena against the 10 seed that right now would be Tulsa. If they won that game, they would play on Friday against the 2-seeded right now FAU.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy. And we already saw Tigers.
The Owls of FAU. It's horrible grammar. The FAU.
A lot of Owls in this
a lot of
conference
Owls.
now. Rice, FAU, Temple.
FAU first in net at 28. SMU second at 39. The Tigers third at 76.
Ooh.
North Texas at 77. Charlotte, 96. Boy, Charlotte better remember this good 2 weeks. USF at 110, Tulane at 118, UAB 133, Wichita State, Saturday's opponent, 159, Tulsa 174, East Carolina 196, Rice with the meteoric rise.
I was going to say, they
20 spots.
Huge jump, yeah.
From 248 to 228. Temple, more Owls at 250, and Texas San Antonio at 278.
Wow.
At Shelby Mass Bracket at bracketwag.com, the last 4 in are Nevada, Providence, Butler, Oregon. Tigers firmly ensconced in the tournament. Nevada net 64, Providence net 53, Butler net 54, Oregon net 56. Remember those nets. Tigers at 76.
Yeah.
First 4 out. Virginia at 45. That would be the great debate.
Sure.
Would head-to-head in December matter over a net? I say yes. Let's try to be consistent.
Sure.
Everybody. Washington State, 42. Colorado, 31. Their first 4 out at 31. St. Mary's, first 4 out at 21.
Wow.
Thank you, Shelby, but I want to know what you know. Next 4 out, Georgia at 82. Okay, Memphis,
sure,
Georgia, but that's next 4 out. Wake Forest, 49. Cincinnati, 34.
Wow.
And the old head-to-head, Villanova,
Ooh, no.
51.
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, I was looking a couple days ago of nets and tournament and that sort of thing. And now, especially with that hit the Tigers took last night, I mean, it's hard when you look at these metrics for the Tigers. They've got to be thankful they have those wins in non-conference, but it's hard to be where they're at right now in the metrics and make the tournament as an at-large.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. The next 10, 5 at home, 5 on the road. So let's say home's 4-1.
Sure.
Let's say road's 3-2.
That'd be beautiful. I
think most would sign up for that right now.
Absolutely.
You don't get in.
Now, would they have signed up for that?
No.
2 weeks ago?
No. Well, I wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have either.
I don't think many others would. We sure wouldn't in the preseason. None of us did. We did all these predictions, all these wins and losses, and all these scenarios, and all these type things that could happen. But now this is what has happened.
Brett, there's
a whole lot of difference between coulda and shoulda.
Sure. I want to think back to about 5:05 yesterday. We were talking to Kevin Sweeney, who I love to talk to, very knowledgeable when it comes to college basketball. And we asked him, when you look at the Tigers right now, how much wiggle room do they have? What do you think? And he threw out they go split that, 2 road games, UNT and SMU. Then they split those 2 games against FAU. I still think they're fine. And then you asked, what about a road game against East Carolina? What we didn't ask him was, what about a home loss to Rice? And now that's what we're looking at.
Never even comprehending that could happen, but it did. Now 15-6 on the year, and 7th in the AAC, and we'll have to go on a run at Dickies Arena.
Yep.
They did last year.
They did.
As a 2 seed.
Yeah.
They can, not just conceptually,
sure.
I guess I could jump up and dunk it. It's not going to happen. But they sure can, and hit a hot wave, play a good 4 days of basketball in Fort Worth and shock the world and land on about that 11 spot or maybe in Dayton. And that would certainly change the gloom that is rampant around the sports scene around here.
No, you're right. It has absolutely not been a fun day in the city of Memphis, with a lot of talk about what the Tigers did last night. And now the road ahead, it's going to be tough, but it all starts Saturday morning in that home game against Wichita State. Well, before we get to a break, I got to talk about Goldcrest 51. The original Memphis beer, Goldcrest 51, is back. Yes, that's right. It will be hitting the shelves and bars on Monday. Goldcrest 51, first brewed in 1936 by John Wolfgang Shore. Now locally made in Memphis by Soul and Spirits. Ask for it in all of your favorite beer places Monday, February 5th. Goldcrest 51, it's back. Go check it out on Monday. Well, we need to get to a break and wrap up our first hour. When we come back, we are talking the NBA with Keith Smith.
Roofs, and more roofs. Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair simply because they don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance claims for policyholders each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. Call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates, consultation, and claim repairs. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, diagnosing problems, and estimating is second to none, commercial and residential. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. All you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and Mulehide with labor warranties up to 50 years on all of our jobs. Metro Builders provides roof repairs across the Mid-South. Call Metro Builders to schedule your inspection free. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years. of Cashew Crunch, of Heavenly Hash, of Turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Hello, I'm Greg Figueroa.
And I'm David Figueroa. Over 30 years ago, my brother Greg and I set out on a mission to offer the world a better hot sauce.
That's right, David. We made Melinda's thicker, hotter, and better than ordinary hot sauces.
And now we have 32 exciting and delicious sauces that hot sauce fans are obsessed with, like our ghost pepper sauce, our Thai sweet chili, and our best-selling black truffle hot sauce.
Melinda's also has 5 spicy ketchups made with real sugar and no added junk like high fructose corn syrup. People ask David and I, what makes Melinda so good? That's easy. We think like chefs do. Instead of burning someone with hot peppers and vinegar, we use fresh plant-based ingredients and the finest chili peppers perfectly blended to set your mouth on flavor.
Go to melindas.com to find our line of craft condiments at Walmart and other fine retailers. And right now, get 20% off our award-winning sauces with code SPORTS at melindas.com. That's melindas.com. melindas.com.
Uncorked flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Hi, this is Jimmy Stovall with Corky's Barbecue. We have been serving up our legendary barbecue for more than 39 years, right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Whether you're dining in, picking up in our drive-thru, or serving our famous barbecue at your office or home, with Corky's Party Pack, you are the hit of the party. Barbecue pulled pork, baked beans, coleslaw, barbecue sauce, and buns, starting at only $8.49 per person. And as you know, we send plenty of food. You never have to worry about running out with Corky.
Uncorked flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Hi, this is Jimmy Stovall with Corky's Barbecue. We have been serving up our legendary barbecue for more than 39 years, right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Whether you're dining in, picking up in our drive-thru, or serving our famous barbecue at your office or home, with Corky's Party Pack, you are the hit of the party. Barbecue pulled pork, baked beans, coleslaw, barbecue sauce, and buns, starting at only $8.49 per person. And as you know, we send plenty of food. You never have to worry about running out with Corky.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's a little bit heavy over here today. Not as bad as it was yesterday, but nonetheless, it's starting to crank up over here on 240 East passing Walnut Grove as you continue up towards Sam Cooper. Sam Cooper itself is also a little bit busy. Folks are starting to get used to using that as an alternate route the last day or so. Going outbound Sam Cooper, they're trying to avoid this delay over here on 40 East at White Station. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your Valentine's Day headquarters. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Time to talk NBA with Keith Smith from Spot Rack and the Front Office Show, and on Twitter X at Keith Smith NBA. Here's Keith Smith talking basketball with Bryant and Brett.
Keith Smith joins us now to talk the NBA from Spot Track and the Front Office Show. Always enjoy talking some NBA basketball on a Thursday afternoon. Keith, thanks so much for joining us, and I know a lot to get to in the NBA, but I do want to start off. The news came down yesterday that Marc Gasol has officially retired from basketball, and now here locally we know that the Grizzlies are going to retire his jersey in April. So, a lot of people remembering him very fondly here in Memphis. You tweeted about Marc Gasol earlier today. I'm curious, how do you think Marc Gasol will be remembered as a whole, not just in Memphis, not just in Toronto with his short time there, but in the NBA? How will a guy like Marc Gasol be remembered?
Yeah, I hope very fondly by people who watch the game. I was talking about it on Front Office Show with Trevor Lane just a little bit ago, that we are in a spot where if we think back beyond his NBA career, he was on some really good Spanish national teams, including ones that gave Team USA every bit of a run for their money. In the Olympics, they also won a couple FIBA World Cups. He won multiple Eurobaskets, medaled in multiple Eurobaskets. So it's funny, I saw some people say he's not a Hall of Famer, which is just bonkers because it's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. And to me, this guy's 100% a Hall of Famer. I think, even on just his NBA accomplishments, he'd be really close. And I know for y'all there in Memphis, super special player for a lot of things he did for the Grizzlies during his time with the team there.
And then there is a Hall of Famer, his big brother, Powell, who has not had his number 16 retired here in Memphis. And I don't know about dual ceremonies because I think that would take away from one of the two having the ceremony, have two different ones. But I think at some point next year, 24-25 season, early part of that next year, I mean, the young Pau Gasol with the first year of the Memphis Grizzlies from Vancouver, and then what he went on and did here, and then with the Lakers and international basketball, I think he is deserving of 16 going in the rafters right by 33 and right by 50.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a Celtics fan, so far be it for me to say anything about retiring numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be starting to use letters or 3-digit numbers pretty soon, I think. So yeah, if people feel that strongly about it, by all means, go nuts. I don't get too hung up on those things. That stuff's all nostalgia stuff, and if it's important to people, then by all means, make people happy by recognizing and taking care of some guys. I think it's a great thing to do. So yeah, I would not be surprised at all if we see him also get his number retired. But yeah, in general, I think we're in a really fun place with these guys getting that recognition from being really special players, which is a good thing.
One thing I will remember Marc Gasol by is when they first made the deal, and he was the consummate kind of low post player. And I'm not saying he was at the vanguard of the big men moving out and consistently and regularly stroking threes, but he was close to it. I mean, the game changed, and he could do that. I mean, early in his career, the idea of him moving more than about 15 feet from the bucket, seemed pretty wild. And then he really got that shot down.
Yeah, he absolutely did, and he was always a really good passer, a good screener, and he, in a lot of ways, became kind of a guy who adapted to the modern game quite well. We think about a guy who's still going right now, in Brook Lopez, who had a very similar type of transition in his career, and despite not being the most fleet-of-foot guys, either one of them, they were both great defenders, and guys who could really hold down the interior and do a lot of things in that respect too. So. Yeah, I just, I think, when we get into all this stuff with these guys, we really get thinking about all of them, and you start to look back on some of the stuff, and you feel like, man, these guys, really were something special. And I think in Marc Gasol's case, it's even more fun, too, because this is a guy, when he came into the league, it was like, I don't know if this doughy, chubby dude's ever going to be anything in the NBA, and he clearly, worked at it, and he made it happen.
And that is so right. The first time I ever saw him at the Pyramid, it wasn't year one, it maybe year two or even the third and final year at the Pyramid. He walks by and somebody goes, that's Marc Gasol's little brother that's playing at Lausanne. I didn't even know Lausanne was co-ed then. I mean, it was exclusively a school for young ladies, for girls. For a lot of my life, I go, really, where's he playing? And then the story that got around town that he wanted to go to a very famous high school basketball factory here and play for a very famous coach. And the coach put him through a rigorous workout, and he couldn't finish. And the coach told people, I was about to kill him. And I just never thought that he would blossom into that and be the key man in the trade for his brother Powell.
Yeah, and I remember, obviously from afar, the outrage of that trade of, the NBA forced Pau Gasol to the Lakers, and they didn't get anything back for him, and everybody was losing their minds. And whether the story of that'll be written someday and all that. And I think the conspiracy theory stuff is better left to the dark corners of the internet. But I think when we really look back on it, we're going to find out, like, hey, Memphis, maybe a couple people, they were like, now this kid can play. He may look a little, chubby and out of shape, but he can get after it. And, sometimes those guys will turn into the really special players themselves.
Keith, those dark corners of the internet, I try my best to stay away from the ones that are well lit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's times when I say to myself, I don't even know why I put this stuff up.
Right. Yeah, and you mentioned to each his own. You basically said to each his own on retired numbers, and I'm with you there. Dallas, the Mavericks very famously have Brad Davis's number retired. Well, most people don't know who, or he didn't win a championship. He's not in the Basketball Hall of Fame, but he was big on making Dallas matter on the sports scene in the early days for Donald Carter and Norm Sanju and the people that ran the Mavericks. His role there, and you look at the Milwaukee Bucks and you see Junior Bridgman and Marcus Johnson's numbers retired, and they're probably more famous for being a part of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar deal than anything else, but they matter to them, to each their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like it that far be it from me to be the one who gets all bent out of shape about different guys getting their numbers retired and the like, because none of that stuff really is anything that I'm ever gonna overly focus on or get worried about. I think we're in a place where let's really hey, if it's gonna make a bunch of people happy and they're gonna feel really, really good about it, go ahead and retire a number. It doesn't hurt anything beyond, all right, now we're in a slightly different place as far as what jerseys are available to be worn by the next group.
If the good people of Boston want to build a statue to Jerry Seasting, they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's still to this day, my uncle will, if you're ever looking to fill an hour or two a program, and I'll give you his number. He'll come on. He'll tell you all about how he was a key guy to winning a bunch of titles.
That's great. That's great.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, Keith, the big story, I guess one of the big stories in the NBA right now is the injuries that have plagued Joel Embiid this season. He's out again. A lot of people have been talking about that 65-game threshold, and he's getting very close to missing that for awards at the end of the season. But the 76ers team has been struggling now, have lost 4 in a row, and they've got Utah tonight in the late-night game on TNT. What have you made of the injuries this year for Joel Embiid, and then for the 76ers right now over this last 2-week span, really struggling on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, they not only are they struggling, but other teams are playing pretty good. They're now 5th in the East, and they're 3 games ahead of the Pacers in 6th. And I think we're all expecting the Pacers maybe here with Halliburton's back, as they get more comfortable with Siakam, maybe they take off. But the Knicks and Cavs, both 9-1 in their last 10 games, have moved right past Philadelphia. Now, all of a sudden, Philadelphia, there was a moment there where it was like, all right, they're right there with the Bucks, and could they catch the Celtics?
Yeah.
And now they're 7 games behind Boston. So that's out the window, right? Now it's all about, hey, just stay in the top 6 so we don't have to mess around in the play-in tournament. Get Joel Embiid healthy. Get Tyrese Maxey healthy as well. Get our role players going good. We'll see if they make a trade here in the next week or so. And then let's just get to the postseason and we'll figure it all out there, because that's been always kind of the question is almost no matter where their seed has fallen is if they're not healthy come playoff time, it doesn't really matter because they're not going to be able to go as far as they need to go anyway.
But the team to beat in the East, it goes through the Boston Celtics, and they get a pretty good draw tonight with the Lakers now with Anthony Davis and LeBron James to miss those games. It goes through them, and then on Saturday night at Madison Square Garden, Lakers and Knicks. Can the Knicks make any real noise? Can they advance?
Yeah, we're going to see with that Knicks game. Let's see who plays first of all, right? Because we know Julius Randle will be out, and then OG Anunoby's dealing with an elbow issue right now, and if that keeps him out, and let's say LeBron at least is back, and we'll see about Anthony Davis. If they're both back, the Knicks are down to their big guns. It's going to be hard, but the Knicks almost, these last couple games, it was thought, all right, well, they've won their 6 in a row, and now Randall's down, and Anunoby's out. They'll probably drop a game or two. They went right into next man up, and you better come in if you're on a top Thibodeau team, come in and be ready to go and play very hard and get after it, and that's really where it's been at with the Knicks. So I think we're in a spot where we're going to see the Knicks do some stuff here where it is, hey, we're just going to get after it. That's going to be interesting. And as far as the Celtics, Lakers go, obviously no Celtics fans are going to shed a tear for anybody with the Lakers. But if you really talk to people, and I'll put myself in that category, one, we want to see guys healthy because you want to see the best games possible. But you want to beat the Lakers and not leave any excuses for, well, hey, we beat you and you had your guys. Now if the Celtics beat them, it's like, well, we didn't have our guys, so what'd you expect? So you want to get after them with their own guys. But, nobody as you're trying to stack wins is going to complain too much about going against an undermanned team.
Keith, what is it like on those nights, whether it's regular season or ultimately in the NBA Finals, when the Los Angeles Lakers are on that famed parquet playing the Boston Celtics? What's that atmosphere like?
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics fans, everybody can talk about the Sixers and the Knicks and any other teams that have been more recent, like the Heat and the Bucks. It's the Lakers. That's Boston's rival. You ask Celtics fans, it's funny, there's a graphic. I know you can Google it and find it. I think it was somebody on Reddit asked everybody, who's your team's rival? And I want to say it was 4 or 5 teams said it was the Celtics, and Celtics fans said it was the Lakers, and Lakers fans said it was the Celtics. That's it. It is pure, absolute generations of hatred. I will tell you guys, as a Celtics guy, I have our daughters now. She's 13. She's going to be in high school next year. When she was little, I told her, no yellow and purple. There will not be yellow and purple in this house. It's not happening. Those are not colors you're allowed to like, and especially not together. And she moved on with that. There are a few things I tried to impart as a sports fan dad to her, and she knows no love for the Lakers in the Smith house.
Sounds like good parenting to me, Keith. Yeah. And with that, have you been there when it's really been thunderous beat LA?
Oh yeah, I've been there. Several times when that's been the comments, including even in 2008 when the Celtics were putting the final touches on the Detroit Pistons. They fans wanted the Lakers. they were very much, we want the Lakers. That's who we want to get after. And boy, that Game 6, that was one of the biggest party atmospheres I can remember. Because if people remember that Game 6, Boston pulled away from the Lakers late. The game was really a runaway, and that building was as raucous and as joyous as I can ever remember them being, because nobody was sweating it out. You were able to start the party pretty early. They had a lot of fun in the stands that night.
Talking NBA with Keith Smith from Spot Track and the Front Office Show. Keith, we're a week away from the trade deadline. A lot of news coming out about who could be moved, who won't be moved. But one team that I saw that kind of I don't know if I should say shocked me, but a little intriguing that they look like a team that's going to be a buyer, and that's the Houston Rockets. They've kind of gone out there and have been linked to a couple of guys that would say that they're buyers, and right now playing certainly better than they did last year, but still under 500. Are you surprised? Obviously, they have a lot of draft capital, some young guys. Are you surprised that they are showing interest in being a buyer at the deadline?
I'm a little surprised at the extent of some of the reporting of some of the kind of all-in things they're willing to do right now, because it feels like the Rockets people I know and the fans of the team that I interact with, they're pretty happy right now because we're taking our step forward here. Right, we got all these vets. We're playing better basketball. We've won some games. We're competitive. Probably going to be competitive all the way through the end of the year for a postseason spot. And I think some of them, though, are looking at it a little bit and saying, hey, if we can snag a guy right now that feels like this, I don't think any of them, and I don't think the team either, is looking to make, hey, this is an all-in move for a guy who's going to walk in free agency, but we don't really care.
Right.
Because this is the last move for, to get us where we want to be. It's more if we can make a move for a guy who's going to be a part of this next year and the year beyond and maybe the years beyond that, let's go. Let's go make that kind of move. So I think they're being pretty cautious, and I think if you're a Rockets fan, you got to be pretty happy because you get a bunch of options on the table now because you have played well.
Who are some teams or some players that you're really keeping an eye on for next week at the deadline?
Yeah, I think team-wise, I'm looking at, are the Sixers going to make their move now? Or are they really going to stay patient and try to go into the summer? Are they, we're going to find out a little bit more about Joel Embiid's injury, I would assume, in the next day or two. We know he already left the team and headed back to Philadelphia ahead of their return from this West Coast swing. So we'll find out. Maybe it's not as bad as we think, and they're ready to make a move and go. Are the Knicks going to do something else to fortify? Now the Knicks are no longer they're trying to take down the Bucks for that 2 seed. They're only a game back, so they've still got another trade in them. Are the Thunder going to make that kind of, all right, it's time. We're pretty good, and we could maybe win the West. Let's make a big move right now, and they could make a big move and still have plenty in reserve to kind of go after it. And then of the teams more down lower, is Orlando going to make a move to try to take, all right, it's been a nice season. We're in playing range. Let's try to be a little bit better than this. Let's make our move now. Is that going to be something Utah does, or does Danny Ainge, who will not be seduced by the allure of the play-in tournament, he feels like the best thing for his Jazz team to win a title in the next few years is to trade a few more guys? He'll do that because he's all about trying to win a championship. So I think we're going to have a very active trade deadline. I don't know that we're going to see any superstar blockbuster moves like Kevin Durant trades or anything like that, like last year, but I think we're still going to see a lot of role players moved around and teams trying to set themselves up for not only a run the rest of this year, but some teams trying to set themselves up for the next few years on the cap sheet and the like.
So you would put the percentage of Steph Curry being dealt at 1% or 0%?
Zero. Unless we hear he doesn't want to be a Warrior anymore, I'm going to put it at 0 all the way through the remainder of his career.
I think that's a good place to start. Tonight in Memphis, the Cleveland Cavaliers are here with J.B. Bickerstaff as head coach, a very beloved former head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, and a lot of people around town really are glad to see his success. Do they add at the deadline? Because it feels more guard-centric right now for them. Do they try to get a bigger player?
I think they're going to try to see what they can do. They're mostly been focused on let's get Evan Mobley and Darius Garland back in the lineup. Those guys both return this week. So I think for them it's let's kind of see what we've got here. Their challenge is they're almost out of tradable salaries. So if you're going to make one more move, it's got to be really a move where you feel like, all right, this really lifts us to another level. They don't have draft pick capital because they used up all of it to get Donovan Mitchell, but they're playing really good basketball, and they started to play really well without Garland and Mobley. Now you get those two guys back in the fold, and I think Cavs are another team that is, hey, we're not content with just being the 4 seed. Let's try to run Milwaukee down. Let's try to be the 2 seed and put ourselves in an even better position than the one we were in a year ago. So that's going to be a fun game tonight because I know the Grizzlies aren't winning a lot right now, but they're playing hard, man.
It has been
they
fun.
Are getting after it, and they're still playing defense. And that's the kind of team that I think, hey, even if the results aren't there, that's the kind of team you should still root for night to night because the guys are getting after it so hard, and they're really doing it. And I think that's a testament to Taylor Jenkins. So I think that's going to have a chance to be a pretty fun one.
I'm having more fun going to these games with this roster, and it's largely anonymous, than I did early in the year when everybody was just waiting for the return of Ja. Keith, you're talking about the Cavaliers. Their best deal they're going to make is going to be getting people well. I know how much people in every sport hate that around deadline time. Brian and I, as Cardinals fans, we hear that all the time at deadline time. Really, all we got to do is get well. We got a player that's on injured reserve that's really better than anything we could trade for.
Year.
Oh yeah, that's a very common thing. Hey, and I think had Memphis this season gone a little different, we might have heard that about a guy like Brandon Clark.
Yeah,
right. Like hey, we're adding him. He's our trade deadline acquisition and things like that. But yeah, that's a hard one to sell to people because people are like, yeah, that's cool. I don't want to wait. Give me a guy that's going to suit up here in the next
not even
few
fun.
days. So
Right.
I get it.
Keith, last thing for you. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when it was first kind of being floated out there publicly that the NBA might do this, but it's now official. The NBA draft will now be a 2-day process, the first round being on the first night, second round being on the second night. And I think the caveat of it is they are extending the time per pick in the second round to kind of extend that viewing process in the second round. What do you make of it? I know we talked about it a while ago, and you kind of said you were open to the idea, but what do you think about a 2-day draft?
Yeah, now that we're definitely doing it, I want to see how does it change that second round where teams have a chance to reset. Is there a team that says, wow, we kind of had some conversation on player X going into it, but when there's only 5 minutes, we couldn't quite get there, and now is that something they kind of regroup on and come back to? Do we see some guys who were drafted night one get traded night two because the teams now have a little bit more time to connect and work out a deal. My big hope for this from a broadcast perspective is we got to get some draft people on there then. You got to get the ESPN, if they're going to have both of these nights, you have Jonathan Givony, Jeremy Wu, their draft guys.
100%.
They got to be on the
Open
broadcast.
mic.
You got to have the college guys who know the college players, the international guys who know the international guys. We don't need a bunch of people up there yelling about how I don't know who this guy is, but if this team doesn't do X, Y, and Z, because then why? Might as well just print out the results for the second round and send them to us when it's over. And that's not, if we're going to do this right, let's do it right. So I think they're trying, but it's going to be incumbent on the broadcast partners to be good partners as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But Keith, as always, thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again next week.
I appreciate it. We'll be breaking down what happened on the trade deadline day next week.
That's right. Thank you, Keith.
Keith Smith with us every Thursday from Spot Track and from the front office show on all things NBA is one of the great guests in any radio anywhere. Jason's Deli with all the great locations for you close to wherever you are. Wherever you are, you're close to one of those great locations, whether it's Poplar and Highland over by the U of M, Olive Branch, Cordova, or at Ridgeway Road across from MUS. That just about spans the universe here in our area for them to take care of you with that great food, healthy, first franchise in the nation to be trans fat free. It's all about choice at Jason's Deli. Regardless if you seek a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids meals, you will be delighted at Jason's Deli. Plenty of organic food to choose from, bringing more to the table. It's a family thing at Jason's Deli. Whether you're dining in, you're getting it to go, or you're having it delivered, you're on your way downtown to FedEx Forum tonight, make time. If you're going to watch at home, make time. Stop by, get that. Make it easy on whoever's night it is to have the food ready at the house. Wholesome food forever. It's a family thing at Jason's Deli with all the great salads on the menu, like the Mesa Chicken Salad, the Big Chef Salad, the Taco Salad, the Chicken Caesar Salad, and in every Jason's Deli, the great salad bar with over 30 items to choose from for you to prepare it however you would like. Catering, anytime, anywhere, getting ready for that big event or that big game, whatever that game that may be. Keep Jason's Deli in mind. Over 200 area Memphis associates for your every need. Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch in Cordova, and in those locations, the complimentary free ice cream. Check them out online as well at jasonsdeli.com.
Let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, Brett mentioned it, Grizz in action tonight against the Cavaliers. We'll talk about what we expect to see tonight between the Grizz and the Cavs. That's next on Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every $1 you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's off Highway 64 in Bartlett, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp today. We have representatives nationwide and services to showcase your invention. Get started today.
Call 1-800-217-4380. That's 1-800-217-4380.
Paid actor portrayal.
Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. In 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected.
Ethos fast and easy online term life insurance up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawild Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Running slow again, just like yesterday on 40 East over here at White Station. Also, it's slow now on 240 East as you come past Poplar, trying to get up to Walnut Grove. This has also affected that traffic. It's flooded traffic actually over there onto Sam Cooper going outbound. That's why that's a little bit busy as you try to get on the interstate there, coming off Sam Cooper, as it picks up even more with volume south of Memphis on 55 down through South Haven. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your Valentine's Day headquarters. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. And the Grizzlies, they're back in action at home tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, another game. I mean, I don't know why I say another game. It's been all year, but Santi Aldama questionable tonight for this game against the Cavs with tailbone soreness. John Conchar questionable with left ankle sprain. Doubtful Luke Kennard and Derrick Rose. Looks like both those guys getting closer to returning. But it's going to be like we've been seeing a lot. We saw them earlier this week go out and sign a couple of guys on 10-day contracts. It's going to be a very short rotation just because of all of these injuries for the Grizzlies tonight.
The roster of the last few nights, and certainly the other night on the fly having to add people just to have the 8 warm bodies that the league requires, and it's why I was so opposed to it during COVID for other sports when you didn't make the position grouping minimums and things like that. No, and especially that year in college football, in the 2020 COVID year, if you've got to play a nose guard at quarterback, you put him out there. Sure. You play, and too many could kind of sneak in under that. And I know the NBA entirely picked up the rest of 2020 down at the bubble. But even some of those were close to, and maybe some games canceled over limitations. Sure. No, you just keep adding people.
Yeah.
If you got to get them at the rec league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're seeing the Grizzlies doing that right now. Matt Hurts, they picked up right before that their previous game. They've now made a couple of additional signings on 10-day contracts. So, you're going to see a lot of this. You'll see a lot of those guys get action, and I know, Trey Jemison, whatever, the new center, that's a guy that a lot of people have been talking about wanting him a part of this team. Just, the big body, averages a double-double right now, a big center that can go get you boards. Now, that was earlier in the season before, all of the injuries on this team took a complete nosedive, and really you were just looking for a replacement at center for Steven Adams. But it will be fun to see what he can do tonight with this team.
Do you expect/want the Grizzlies active at deadline?
Well, it's interesting. I at first was thinking, no way, it's going to be super silent for the Grizzlies. But, last week when we were talking to Keith, and Keith said that he could see the Grizzlies being one of those teams that tries to get ahead of the offseason by trying to figure out the roster or some of the roster at the deadline. And so, what does that mean? There's so many injuries. It's hard to move guys, and even some of the guys that you might want to move, it could be hard to do that. I know, like Zaire, a lot of people are saying he could be a deadline guy. I don't think they're going to be super active. I don't really want them to be super active unless it's like we just want to free up a roster spot for next year. I think it's going to be pretty quiet.
Tonight against Cleveland, tomorrow night against Golden State. And a reminder, again, tonight's game, a lot of schedules preseason had this as 9 p.m. on TNT. It's not. It's 7 o'clock. We know that's really 7:10.
Right.
And, as much as I've complained through the years, why can't we start at 7:00 or at least 7:05? Last Friday when we were out at the boat show and way out East Memphis, I needed that 7:10 tip.
You need every minute.
I didn't think I was ever getting from the Agri Center to downtown.
That's hilarious. No, well, I'm glad. First off, I'm glad you got down there in time. But no, this is going to be a tough game tonight for the Grizzlies. A home game. I know there will be a good amount of people going down there tonight. But this Cleveland Cavaliers team has been playing really, really well.
And what seed can they finish?
Exactly.
They could end up anywhere 2 to 7.
100%, Brett. They are winners of 11 of their last 12 games. You could even go further than that, winners of 13 of their last 15. So, this team has been playing really, really well.
45 last night from number 45.
Oh, yeah. Donovan Mitchell, he is a great player. And, they have that's another team that, have really built this team, I think, the right way, gotten a lot of guys through the draft, but also going out there, free agency, trades, and really constructing a really, really nice team. Jarrett Allen is averaging 15.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, and has been really doing a good job inside. So it's going to be tough tonight. But, like Keith was saying, this Grizzlies team has been really scrappy, even in games that they've been outmatched and are, by far on paper, whatever you want to look at, the worst team. They go out there and they compete, and I think we'll see that tonight.
Is Amani Bates with the team?
So he's been bouncing back and forth. I think right now he's actually with the G League team, but because of injuries and stuff they've been dealing with, he's kind of been bouncing up and down all year long.
Earlier I was talking about, I'm changing subjects on you. We'll get back to NBA, I promise. Earlier I was talking about the Tigers and everybody today in an uproar over worst loss ever. I don't think it's the worst loss ever. I do think it is certainly the worst home conference loss ever. And ever is a really long time. It can be debated, and if you don't think it is, that's fine. But I was trying to find the day of because I was wrong. I said Wisconsin. Superior was Wisconsin. Parkside, and I corrected it today. That was on January 26th, 1980, the 79-80 season. Tigers went 13-14. Coach Dana Kirk's first year as head coach of the Tigers. And that game, 4 games later, on February the 7th, was the famous 55-54 loss at Tully Gym that Dana late in the game said, "We're not finishing. Load up, men."
Wow.
That for a coach in his first year.
Wow.
And he could run hot, and he told me the story in these studios many times about it. And he said he was scared to get back and approach bosses.
Oh, I believe it.
Because, I think now if you had a coach leave the court before a game was over,
certainly
you might be met on the tarmac.
No, absolutely. No, that's incredible. So I guess not a good season that year if you're losing to Parkside and leaving games early.
But some of the opponents in the 70s, especially after the Tigers left Wichita State and were playing as an independent, and you're just trying to piece together a schedule. But, I mean, you see Green Bay.
Okay, Green Bay played earlier this morning. They had an 11 o'clock game today against IUPUI.
They did. Milwaukee.
Okay.
Non-conference, Benedictine College. We went to that game, I swear.
Really?
Went to that game.
Wow.
Brandeis did not go to that one, but the late, great Jack Eaton with one of the all-time calls. The Tigers had a breakaway in his style. Great Scott, the Tigers into the forecourt. It's a 4-0 break against Brandeis. Slam dunk for James Bradley or whoever it was. And he said, I think Justice Brandeis himself could start for this Brandeis team. He'd been dead 80 years.
Oh, wow. That's great. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, those are some names on there that did not know Memphis had history with.
I do remember, Heidelberg, it was famous. A lot of these teams, I'm looking at it now. Hard to find a media guide.
Huh. Interesting.
It's not one at the site now with all the full names. In fact, I went to College Basketball Reference earlier today, and for that year of playing Wisconsin Parkside, it's not even on there.
Really?
You could not prove that game using that as a source.
Wow, really?
Look, I know they played. I remember that Hank McDowell was on that team. Hank was a great player. Went to the NBA.
Yeah. So what year was that?
79-80.
Did they have the year before that on Basketball Reference, or did it stop before you got to that?
They omitted a couple of games.
Interesting.
Of games that I knew had been. Like, here's one, Oklahoma Christian.
Okay, yeah.
Not Oklahoma City, not Abe Lemon's team. Oklahoma Christian.
Oklahoma Christian. D2 program.
Tigers lost that game.
Wow.
So we start home.
Check that one up there. I mean, wow. What was the final record of this team?
Eastern Montana. That was 13-14.
I don't know much about Eastern Montana.
But one late in the year, I remember this, Tulane, Cincinnati, Virginia Tech down the stretch of the year, and that was giving people hope. And one of the big things coming out of that year was the recruitment of Michael Cage from West Memphis, who was a year older than Keith Lee, went to San Diego State, Smoky Gaines, Memphian, played college at Lemoyne-Owen. He got Michael Cage, and we're really hoping for him the year before finally getting Keith Lee.
Wow.
And things really changed.
Things changed a lot, yes.
With number 24. And he did not wear 24 at West Memphis, wore 22 at West Memphis.
Interesting.
22 was taken by Bobby Parks.
Right. Interesting. Huh. Well, yeah, again, I had no idea that some of those teams that you just listed off.
Last night was not close to the all-time loss.
No, Brett, I would say maybe 2 or 3 of those in there would top Rice, unfortunately.
There's a couple.
Certainly, I think I can confidently say worst loss of my lifetime, though.
Coach Kirk used to talk about opening night with Keith Lee, and I'm looking at it now, but I do remember it. They opened the season at East Tennessee State.
Oh, wow.
Which could be good. I don't know if Barry Dowd was there then. Might have been a little later for him. But anyway, they could be very representative some year. Opened there, lost 67-62.
Wow.
First game of Keith Lee.
Wow.
And Coach Kirk said he goes into the locker room, and Keith is inconsolable. Just sobbing almost uncontrollably.
Holy cow.
And he thought, okay, I know, but this is college basketball. And he goes over pretty much quietly and says, all right, Keith, you got to get it together. He said, Coach, I ain't lost in 2 years. He didn't lose his 11th grader and 12th grader that left Memphis High.
Whoa.
And he said, I'm not going to ever get used to it. The rest is history.
Wow. That's a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, haven't lost in 2 years, lose your first college game.
To East Tennessee State on the road.
Wake-up call, I tell you. Wow. But, yeah, much better after that. Certainly not a great loss for the Tigers last night, though. Brett, you mentioned it earlier in the NBA, just jumping back there real quick before we get to a break. But tonight, Lakers-Celtics on TNT, the 6:30 game. Both LeBron James and Anthony Davis out tonight. We know this Lakers team has really struggled. I mean, looking at away.
Take your load management, Adam Silver.
Man, it's incredible. Looking at the road and home records for these two teams. Lakers on the road this year, 7-17. The Celtics at home, 22-2. That's incredible.
Quite a contrast. And back to the 65-game threshold for all the awards.
Yeah.
And I saw Keith tweet this earlier this week, and I saw our friend Brian Geltzeiler as well. I know it's easy to be mad at management, to be mad at the establishmentarians.
Sure.
Your Players Association negotiated every bit of this.
Very good point. That really is.
I know it's a lot easier to be mad at Park Avenue than it is at your player rep. But your player rep was right in there in every meeting, every consultation, and every vote.
That's a really good point. And, you have heard a lot of arguments about that over the last couple of days, especially with the Joel Embiid injury. And now this 76ers and Jazz game, which is going to be the second part of that doubleheader on TNT. Very intriguing game with the Jazz at home, a 4.5-point favorite over the 76ers. Well, let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Guns, guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Corky's Barbecue in Cordova.
At Edwin Watts Golf Shops by Worldwide Golf, there's something that binds us all. The collective goal to transcend the ordinary. Introducing the Ping G430 Max 10K driver. Straighter flies farther with Ping's most forgiving driver ever made. The Max 10K. Come in today and test drive Ping's newest driver at Edwin Watts Golf Shops. Visit us at your local Edwin Watts Golf Shops or shop us online at worldwidegolf.com. Get there.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets, but I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there. To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
East Memphis Ace Hardware is more than just a hardware store. It's really a customer service store. With 20 employees along with complete inventory of items, big to little, finding what you need is easy. Choosing from a complete selection of Big Green Egg as well as Traeger and Weber grills. And the Garden Center has everything for your yard. You can get glass cut, repair screens, even new keys with key fob programming. Tools, nuts, bolts, screws. You need it? East Memphis Ace Hardware has it. And they're just down the street at the corner of Quince and White Station.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York, but many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone, Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, I originally last night was going to bring in a Memphis Tiger big number because I was appalled last night after watching that first half of basketball that the Tigers came out and just so that I can, for whatever reason that I want to do this, and I don't know why I do. I just want to take a look at KenPom. Right now, even after last night's game, Rice's defense, adjusted defensive efficiency, according to KenPom, ranks 234th in the country. That could be my big number, 234 defensive efficiency for the Rice Owls. And the fact that the Tigers only put up 22 points in that first half, I was looking around the country at half to see what other teams in college basketball, really big slate last night, I think like 45 or 50 college basketball games last night, how many teams scored less than 22 points in the first half of their game. Now, I didn't go through all the games that happened after the Tigers happened, but games that were either at half or were finished by the time the Tigers went to halftime. Only 2 teams scored less than 22 points in the first half. It was Mercer and Austin Peay. Both scored, I think one team scored like 21, the other scored 19. So just a very pathetic first half performance offensively for the Tigers.
Was the Austin Peay game the first game kind of window to our soul?
A lot of people point to the Vanderbilt game because that was the game right before that one, and it was a very close game.
And Vandy's really bad.
Yeah, I would almost say Austin Peay, but yeah, it's certainly one of those 2 games.
What about? You sure couldn't say Clemson.
No. I mean, I think
a lot of this was averted by winning in overtime at VCU.
Absolutely.
I think tipping point now, with the value of hindsight, that some bad stuff may have happened sooner if it hadn't been for overtime at VCU.
Well, and that's the thing, and I think a lot of people forget about that 2-game, those back-to-back losses against Villanova where really came out. You want to talk about a bad first-half performance offensively, go back to when the Tigers finished with, 19 points in the first half or 16
just
points?
to make it look better.
I mean, yeah. That was a really bad first half. Now, 19 points in the first half for the Tigers. And then you go out and lose to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss, is turning out to be a really good team. But you lose that game to VCU. We were already talking about it before that game happened of, if the Tigers lose here, we got to ask some questions. But then that 10-game win streak, I think a lot of people forgot about all of that, and it was hidden, like you said, by those wins, and now we're seeing it right in front of our face.
My big number, and I will have a theme all the way through a week from tomorrow. It'll be mostly, if not entirely, Super Bowl. My big number is 15. That's the number of pick sixes, interceptions for touchdowns in Super Bowl history, and I'm getting it. I want to source my friend Kevin Gallagher on Twitter at his great NFL site. And that's the record for a team that gets an interception return for a touchdown in Super Bowl history. 12-1. The Buccaneers had 3. So 12-1 is 13, and then 2 more is the 15, the total number. But if you get a pick six, an interception for a touchdown, you've gone 12-1. Rich Gannon had 3 in one game for the Raiders against Tampa Bay, and Atlanta is the team with the one, with Dan Quinn in the news. They had the one interception by Robert Alford for the Falcons, 82-yard return off of Tom Brady to give them a 21-0 lead.
Holy cow.
To only lose in overtime.
That's incredible. Wow. That's a really good big
that
number.
was the point that I texted my nephew Turner and said, well, it's over for Tom Brady. I said, Brett, I think you've been a little rash. This is Tom Brady. Hang on.
Tom Brady. Let's give him a chance. No, that's a really good big number. I was also wrong again. 16 points in the first half for the Tigers against Villanova.
Was that right?
Yeah. So 2 really, really bad first half performances for the Tigers, and we saw it again last night against Rice. I'm just looking here. I'm just combing through some stuff here on KenPom since I had it pulled up. And, I mean, Brett, these defensive numbers, because on KenPom, you can just have all season long numbers. You can also do conference-only numbers. And, I mean, adjusted defensive efficiency 10th in conference since conference play. Effective field goal percentage, defensive 11th. Offensive rebound percentage, 12th. I mean, these are just really bad. Giving up threes, they're 12th in the conference in opponent three-point percentage. I mean, these are just really, really troubling stats.
Yeah, and that has not been the calling card in Penny Hardaway's first 5 years. Goldcrest 51, the original Memphis beer, it is back. Goldcrest 51 is back, and it'll be hitting the shelves and bars on Monday. Goldcrest 51, first brewed in 1936 by John Wolfgang Shore, now locally made in Memphis by Soul and Spirit. Ask for it in all your favorite beer places starting Monday, February 5th.
Well, we've talked a ton of Tigers today because of that loss last night to Rice, but we're going to talk to the guy that was on the call last night, on the TV call over on ESPN Plus. No, we can't blame him. He was one of the few bright spots of the night last night watching that Tiger game over on ESPN Plus. But let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we're talking more Tigers with Greg Gaston.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous. A legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
We all appreciate luxury. We love the newest technology. We want something that sparkles and looks great. Well, I've got it all in one place. It's called Genesis of Olive Branch, right at the corner of Highway 78, that's Lamar, and the first exit in Mississippi, that's Craft Road. Turn left and you will see Genesis of Olive Branch. And right now, you can get the 2024 Genesis GV70 starting at $49,480 with special financing as low as 3.49% on select models. How about the 2024 Genesis GV80? A little bit bigger, starting at $55,995, financing as low as 5.49% with a $2,000 rebate when trading a luxury brand. Call them. They'll even bring you a Genesis at your work or your home for a test drive. They're convinced that when you drive a Genesis, you're going to want one. Call 662-890-6684. Ask for Vinny. Genesis of Olive Branch.
Roofs, roofs, and more roofs. Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair simply because they don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance claims for policyholders each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. Call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates, consultation, and claim repairs. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, diagnosing problems, and estimating is second to none, commercial and residential. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. All you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and Mulehide with labor warranties up to 50 years on all of our jobs. Metro Builders provides roof repairs across the Mid-South. Call Metro Builders to schedule your inspection free. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
Looking for the most thoughtful, most romantic gift for the one you love this Valentine's? At Genesis Diamonds, celebrating love is what we do. Maybe it's a simple pendant, or maybe it's an exquisite, one-of-a-kind designer ring. Genesis can help you pick out the most memorable and special piece of jewelry for the occasion. And to make it even sweeter, now till Valentine's, whether you spend $199 or $199,000, Genesis will give you some chocolates, fresh flowers, and dinner out at no charge. It's a one-stop ultimate Valentine's experience. When you buy any piece of beautiful jewelry, we'll give you a bouquet of beautiful flowers, some yummy chocolates, and a gift card for dinner at Restaurant Iris. So join us at Genesis Diamonds. See our spectacular collection of rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, and more. Priced from $199 to $199,000. Let our non-commissioned experts help you find that perfect ring that'll warm their heart and, for years to come, be a symbol of your love. And we'll throw in the chocolates, flowers, and dinner as our treat. Happy Valentine's Day from Genesis Diamonds. On Poplar at Perkins Extended. Limited quantity. See store for details.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. There's a couple of accidents still getting some attention out here. It's just a mess over here now on 240, trying to get eastbound as you travel between Billmorris Parkway up by Poplar all the way to Walnut Grove. They continue to work on 40 East at White Station. That's had traffic crawling between Covington Pike and White Station going eastbound. It's picked up with more volume just in the last few minutes on 55 down through South Haven. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your Valentine's Day headquarters. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
From the Tigers sideline, it's Tigers Talk with Memphis broadcasting legend Greg Gaston. Hear Greg weekday mornings on Sports 56 Mornings, along with Eli Savoy from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. On Twitter X at Greg_Gaston. Here's Greg with Bryant and Brett.
Greg Gaston joins us now like he does every single Thursday to talk Tigers. You can hear him every single morning on this station, Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli. And if you were watching the game last night on ESPN+, you heard his voice for Tigers and Rice. Greg, what happened last night with the Tigers? We knew about the 3 losses coming in, but I think everyone thought you get back home, you play, I hate to say it about a Division I college basketball team, but a really bad Rice team, and they go out and embarrass you on your home floor. What did you make of last night?
Yeah, guys, good afternoon. I think we're all in a state of shock in this city, whether or not you cover the Tigers, whether you care about the Tigers. You're just befuddled, you're puzzled. If we look at the losses, obviously it was a big breakdown in the South Florida game where they had a 20-point lead, and you came at that one going, how did that happen? All right, we'll bounce back. They go to Tulane, which is not always the easiest place for the Tigers to win at. They had lost the 2 previous years. They lose a tight one, could have won the game, had the lead down the stretch. You go, all right, what is going on here? Then the rivalry rekindled in Birmingham against UAB. Again, a rivalry game. They're up for it. Biggest crowd they've had in eight years, according to their play-by-play guy, and they're able to win again. So there's a problem. But, okay, all right, I can understand that with maybe a tad. You come into this Rice game with the Owls at 248 net, only Temple worse in the conference. You didn't think you'd have a problem with these Owls. Maybe it was the other Owls, Florida Atlantic, that you were worried about down the road. But these Owls, no problem, even as poorly as the Tigers have been playing, especially defensively. Surely they will win this game. And they go out, as you guys know, they put up a measly 22 points in the first half, a team averaging in Memphis nearly 90 in conference play. They go for 22 points. They can't hit the side of a barn. They can't hit the water from the pier. They're 0 for shooting threes. They're turning the ball over. They have a change in the starting lineup. Guys look befuddled out there on the court. There's no continuity, no chemistry. And then in the second half, they start to come back early as they go inside the paint. They grab a lead late, and you think, okay, well, they're winning this game. If you had a chance at that point when the Tigers took a 3-point lead and just played the money line, and most people out there, don't gamble, but for those who do, they'd all jump on Memphis. They got the lead. They're going to win. They'll win by 8 or 9. They won't cover the spread, of course, which was foolish anyway, but they're going to win the game. And they lose the game. And Rice makes the plays down the stretch. And that's why I say it's a state of shock right now. I called the game, and I'm still in a state of shock today. I don't know how I got through 3 hours this morning. I think I was sleepwalking.
You were numb.
I was numb. I'm still numb.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as I call a game on ESPN Plus, I try to call it down the line for both teams. It's not like I'm on the Tiger Radio Network where Wolo, it's a little bit different, or what I do for football. But even calling the game, in my mind, I'm thinking, what is going on here? So, yeah, it's about as bad as you're going to get a loss and about as bad as you're going to get a stretch for Tigers basketball.
I think the warning sign last night came early with 1 point at one point. What was the earliest sign last night of this is going to be a slog, this is going down to the last minute? And what was the early warning sign on this season that it could devolve into this?
Well, last night I thought the early warning sign was that Penny had no patience. He changed the lineup and then started to pull guys out and put guys in. And Quinterly, who didn't start, was in the game about 3 minutes in, and he had played 10 guys by 10 minutes and then got an 11th guy in there. And remember, his son Jaden was hurt, or he would have played. So he was scrambling. He was looking for answers. He was looking for combinations. He was looking for a spark from somebody. And you're having to do that at home in front of your home crowd against Rice. I knew that could be a problem. Again, probably when I saw that line at 14.5, and I think it even went up, I saw that line from Vegas, and I go, that ain't happening. Memphis does not play close games, or doesn't play blowouts. They play close games. They never blow out anybody. They did, of course, run away with Virginia, and they did win big at Wichita State with that big second half. But for the most part, as you guys know, down to the wire. So I saw that and I go, okay, that's not right. Vegas is usually good, but that's not right. But I had to see them play. I knew Penny was changing the lineup. I talked to him about an hour and a half before the game, and just very quickly it was like, wow, he's shoveling guys and One thing is if the guys are in there and they're going hard for 5 minutes and they're breaking this, huge sweat and they're just dog it tired, and he has to pull them to bring another 5. That's one thing. This was just him searching for answers. That's when I knew right away that there was a problem.
Well, you mentioned the lineup changes. Jonathan Pierre, Naquan Tomlin both start for the Tigers. Javon Quinterly, like you mentioned, he came off the bench alongside Nick Jourdain. What did you think of that lineup? I know a lot of people have been talking about that starting lineup. No point guard out there, really no surefire ball handler. I mean, we know David Jones is a really good player, but especially lately has turned the ball over a lot. What did you think when you first saw that starting 5 run out onto the court?
Well, again, I knew what the starting lineup was going to be by talking to Penny. So, I was asking him questions back in his office, and I said, who's going to be your primary ball handler? And he said Jaquan Walton. He had no problems with Jaquan being the ball handler. I said, does he speak out there? Does he talk? Because you're basically putting Javon Quinterly on the pine to start this game because he has not communicated well as a floor general. And he said, no, he does all that. So I didn't see evidence of it, but it's not like, Jaquan played poorly, but it was a message that was being sent to Quinterly. So, yeah, I was a little surprised, but again, I knew what was coming. But I was still dumbfounded by the lineup changes. I know that Penny has said that he doesn't necessarily have, at times, a lot of times on the floor, the 5 that are out there normally, that they are the best chemistry-wise. He has said that. He's basically said that, I'm sacrificing chemistry for better players or athleticism or whatever. And I think it's finally caught up to him where he said, no, I got to find combinations that work. But he has not yet found those combinations that work. And the other thing is, I don't see how this team could even win games consistently, even against mediocre competition, if you're not playing those guys in Jones and Quinterly who still have issues. But if you don't have them in, who's scoring the basketball? So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Greg, Penny Hardaway is not being fired, and he shouldn't be subject to being fired over how this season is now unfolding. But he will be very much under a lot of scrutiny going into next year. And what scares me more than anything else in this NIL world that we exist in, I think it will be hard to go to boosters this spring, this summer, and go, hey, I need X for X. I need this much money for this player. I think it'll be very difficult after looking like this year was a swing and miss. But this is his 6th year. Josh Pastner had 7 years. Penny Hardaway at least gets the amount of time Josh Pastner got.
Well, first of all, as you know, the well, it runs dry after a while. It's not like there's going to be money there each and every year, which you need in this NIL world. So certainly it's not an ever-flowing amount of cash. So that could certainly be an issue if the boosters and those that are willing to give that money for NIL do not feel like the dividends are being paid. That's always something. That's with every program, right? That situation. You need to win, and you need to win big. Memphis, it's interesting how they look at football and then how they look at basketball, the fan base. Football gets a lot of criticism here in the last few years, and all they did was go out there and win 10 games and win the AutoZone Liberty Bowl game. But basketball, if they don't make this tournament after being 10th in the nation, I don't know how many teams in history were 10th in the nation in mid-January and they didn't make the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's a fall from grace. Plus, it would mean only one tournament win in 6 years for Penny. But to your point, Brett, and you're right on, they're not making a change. Penny's not getting fired. That is not going to happen. And, Penny right now, I don't know if he feels like the coaching staff is doing anything wrong. He feels that it's a perfect game plan, they have great practices, and they're not executing. The players, though, and we heard Javon Quinterly last night say, Yeah, it's on us. It's not on the coach. It's not on Coach P. It's on the players. I think it's a combination. I think there's a lot of blame to go around. But, yeah, with Pastner, they gave him an opportunity. He did well at first and then struggled. Obviously, Tubby, it was for a Hall of Fame coach, it just didn't work out. The whole PR thing, getting out there in the public. Yeah, it wasn't going to work out. And you had Penny waiting in the wings, a guy who had cut his teeth, albeit at the high school level. He did have the coaching experience. But now you bring in not only a native son, but a legend, a guy who was given a lot of money to the university. He has taken less money to be a head coach. He cares generally about the kids. He cares a lot about this community. We remember, you and I certainly do, Brett, remember the whole thing with Larry Finch and how it came to an end.
And it was awful.
And it was rough. People still haven't gotten over that. Mm-mm. But Larry Finch wasn't given millions and millions of dollars to the university.
But he was Larry
right now
Finch.
It's bad. What's that?
But he was Larry Finch.
Yes, he was Larry Finch, which made it very, very tough and a hard decision to make. Again, people are still irate about that all these years later. I can't even imagine getting to that point with Penny Hardaway. Now, even though this is I'm mitigating a disaster over what has happened the last 2 weeks, it is not going to cost him the job. Even though there are people, we had a lot of people on our show calling and say, it's time, maybe there needs to be a change, maybe he needs to step down. No, I think he needs to be a little less stubborn in what he wants to do in running this NBA-style program, because it's college. And I don't care if these kids are getting paid or not. It's still college. Last night watching Rice and watching that big man, Fiedler, play fundamentally sound the way he did, didn't care about points, didn't care about shots, was able to make those beautiful bounce passes on those backdoor cuts, the movement of that offense, setting screens. We don't see that. We see more. I'm not saying they don't have plays, Memphis, but it's mainly one-on-one, and that's when that selfishness comes in.
And it's
that he
poor
talks
execution.
About. It's poor execution. Defense, where they're absolutely lost out there. I don't think it's too complicated. I think they just are trying to help each other in this help defense, which does not always work. In fact, doesn't work most of the time. Go back to strict man-to-man. If you can't defend your man, then put somebody else in who can. And then if not, go to zone. Don't worry about it. Okay, it's not a macho thing. Go to zone if you have to, especially to defend the perimeter, which teams are feasting on Memphis from the three-point strike. These are things that I think the coaching staff can do to give those players a more advantageous chance to win games. Now, the thought is, well, we're going to play for Penny. So we're going to play for an NBA legend. We're going to play for an NBA offense, an NBA defense to get us ready for the next level. Well, as you can see, it doesn't always work. And it's not always that the teams like Rice, obviously a bad basketball team with fundamentally sound players. Well, look, you have to have the Jimmies and the Joes as well. But you have to have that nice connection between the Jimmies and the Joes and the system that makes sense at the collegiate level.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Max Fiedler because, and I think you even made the point on the broadcast last night, kind of late in the first half, and you've been saying his name all night already because of how much they got him the ball. The offense was kind of running through him, and you said he doesn't have any points tonight and has only taken like one or two shots because he wasn't worried about shots. He was really facilitating, working the ball around. You talk about that team being fundamentally sound. One thing I noticed watching that game last night, Rice comes in playing very fundamentally sound, moving the ball around. They're setting screens. Guys are cutting to the basket. Guys are constantly moving, constantly talking, communicating with each other. And then on the other end for the Tigers, I'm seeing a lot of guys sitting around. There were multiple times I'd look up and you'd have four guys sitting around the perimeter. Malco would be at about the free throw line or so. Nobody moving, nobody showing efficiency. When they'd set a screen, cut to the basket, very lackadaisical. Do you contribute that to execution, just execution? Do you contribute that to the bad chemistry that we continue to hear? Do you contribute that to the coaches not getting these guys properly prepared? What do you contribute that to?
Well, some of it I contribute to what I just said. That's the NBA. You watch the NBA, right? A lot of times these guys go into their respective corners or they go out on the perimeter, on the wing, right? Mm-hmm. But then usually in about 10 seconds, here they go. Boom, here's the offense. Here's what they're doing. They're the best in the world.
Yeah,
when you're
that's a good
collegiate
point.
players, you're not the best in the world. So it's very hard to get that offense going in the final seconds. So you have a lot of standing around, and then what happens? Defenses collapse. They'll double-team the ball dribbler.
Mm-hmm.
He loses the handle. Then he has to hoist up the bad shot, or he throws the pass to the other guy with 2 seconds on the shot clock. You can't have that. You can't play that and consistently be good at the collegiate level unless you have 5 guys that are really on the same page. And you made a great point, great observation, Brian, about how quickly Rice was getting the ball out of their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Pass, screen, cut, pass, screen, cut. Memphis dribble. David Jones, I got 2 guys on me. I'm still going to beat those 2 guys. Well, a lot of times he does because he's really talented, but a lot of times he doesn't. Or too much dribbling, and there's the dribble off the knee out of bounds. There's those type of things which just drive you crazy.
Greg Gaston, our guest, is brought to you every week by Jim's Place, Collierville, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, the law offices of Stephen Leffler, and Neil's Bar and Grill. I think at large bid is mostly out of the question now. So for the Tigers, it will come down to Fort Worth at Dickies Arena. But going into that and working on seeding, I said earlier, today would be a 7 seed playing the 10 on day 1 on Thursday, and that would be against Tulsa. If you won, it would be advancing to play the 2 seed FAU. It's going to be a tough path.
Well, I can't believe I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's hard to even comprehend what you just said about an at-large. Now, with that said, I did have a bracketologist guy on today, and I gave him a bunch of scenarios. It's still possible, but you can't. You basically have to run the table. I gave him a scenario: can you split with Florida Atlantic, lose one either to SMU on the road or North Texas on the road, win the rest, get to the conference championship game? Are you in as an at-large? And they said, yes, there's a good possibility because, again, they did a lot of good work at the beginning of the season. There is that chance. But then again, you have human beings behind closed doors looking at what have you done for me lately. So they see this stretch. But if you can all of a sudden find it, and that's the hard part, Brett, because nobody sees any answers to all these problems, to the dilemma. Nobody sees answers. They got Wichita State on Saturday. They beat them up in the second half in Wichita. Nobody right now feels good that Memphis will win the game, or even go to Temple, the last place team in the conference, and, that's an automatic dub. Nothing's automatic. But I still think there's that chance. But more than likely, they've played themselves out of the tournament, as you suggested. And yes, going into the conference tournament at Dickies Arena, you want to be in the best position you can be in to win that darn thing, and that's not have to play the first day. And right now, it's a double elimination type thing, but the second day, and right now you're playing because you're the 6th place team currently in the conference. Can they make up ground? Yes, they can make up ground. But right now, it is not a good picture that has been painted for at large, for getting into the tournament as a bye team, or also making the run in the conference championship or conference tournament, because, again, you'll have to play more games than you thought you would. Memphis for sure thought they would be a top 4 seed. Still can be, but right now, again, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, right now 7th, but 6th or 7th, either one is in precarious shape for the postseason tournament. I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to tell you what I think you responded. Okay, I'm not going to drag you into this question because it's really loaded. If I had to bet it gets better or it gets worse before you get to Dickies Arena, I would bet it gets worse. What do you think of that supposition?
They just lost to Rice. The only way it's getting worse on the court is if they go to Philadelphia. Even though it's a road game, I understand, but I believe Rice, from what I saw last night, is actually better than Temple. That's where it could get worse. But I think
Temple must be bad.
Yeah, but it could get worse
Those
somewhere else, Brett.
Though.
Not on the hardwood, in the locker room.
Yeah.
At the practice facility, it can get worse. All of a sudden, you hear. And now I'm not saying that that's going on. Right. I'm not saying that's going on right now. Again, JQ saying what he said last night. He says, no, we're fine. The problem is our chemistry on the court. It's not our chemistry away from the games themselves. But you never know what could ignite something in practice and all that. That's when it can get worse. That's when there could be total implosion. We're seeing the implosion on the court, but God forbid that happens also away from the court. I don't think it will. but that's where it can get worse. But sure, you continue this losing streak. Penny's longest is 4, right? He's matched his longest. So if you turn around and lose I think that's correct, right, Brett? Brian? Yeah. 4 in a row?
I think that's
it's
right.
the most,
I think
right?
You're right.
Yeah. Under Penny's era.
Yeah.
I believe that's correct. And so if they lost to Wichita at home on Saturday, even though it's, I guess, technically because of net, it wouldn't be a worse loss than Rice, but that would be 5 in a row. That would be unprecedented. You'd be going into Philadelphia with your tails between your legs. And remember, this is when people thought, okay, they're gonna get it right. They're gonna beat Rice. They're gonna beat Wichita State. They're gonna beat Temple. They're getting a nice groove to play the tougher teams that they have left on their schedule, including Florida Atlantic twice. But they lose that first one to Rice, and now you got to wonder where their mental state is. So, is it possible to get worse? Yes, but it's pretty low after what happened last night.
Yeah, Greg, I just checked it. The longest losing streak for Penny was in 2022. 4 straight games, lost to Iowa State, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Murray State, all in non-conference, but this is by far his longest conference losing streak. After the game, I'm curious your thoughts on it, but a lot of people kind of before yesterday have been talking about, well, a lot of these problems, the team started losing. This team didn't, I guess I shouldn't say start losing, but this team hasn't played as well since the addition of Naquan Tomlin. Naquan Tomlin's first game was that game against Vanderbilt, so a lot of people I've heard kind of trying to put those two together. And then last night after the game, Penny Hardaway, when talking to the media, kind of put words to that and said, not really blaming him at all, but saying, we have not been able to find our rhythm since we added Naquan Tomlin, and even added, I don't understand it because he's such a great player. What do you take that comment from Penny Hardaway as? Because I've heard a lot of people trying to say, well, he's saying that it's Naquan Tomlin is the issue. I don't see it that way, but what do you see it as?
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to throw him under the bus, but that's when you got to nip it in the bud. You do not say anything, or if you're asked that question, you don't answer it. You move on and say, no, Naquan's played really, really well, because he's going to unfortunately become the sacrificial lamb for a lot of fans out there. They won't blame Penny. They won't blame the system. They'll sit there and they'll look for something. Oh, look at the timing. Tomlin came and all of a sudden the team's not playing well. I don't know if it has anything to do with it. I just know that Tomlin's a pretty good player, and he's actually produced for them. I think he's been their third leading scorer.
8 rebounds last night.
And he rebounds. He's fouled out of some games, too, but so since his arrival, I think he's the third leading scorer. I think it's the biggest coincidence in history. I think it's just a coincidence, and people are going to look to blame somebody, and they're going to blame that kid. But it is intriguing. It is weird. It is strange. But if you're the coach, you got to take the high road on that one. Again, I don't think Penny, by any stretch, was blaming him. But that's one you're asked that question, and you go, hey, Naquan's played really well for us. He's a big part of this team.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Well, Greg, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week. Hopefully we'll be talking about some Tiger wins instead of Tiger losses.
Thank you, Greg. I know
nice.
Today wasn't easy on you. Thank you.
It wasn't for a lot of people. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Talk
Greg.
to you next week.
Greg Gaston, he joins us every single week to talk Tigers, whether it's basketball, whether it's football. Win or loss, we're going to talk Tigers with Greg Gaston. No, it really is not. Well, we need to get to a break, but before we do that, I got to tell you about our 5 o'clock sponsor. That's Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett & Dunn, boot and jean on the historic square in Collierville since 1961. Charles Hall, he started working there in his teens, and now with his wife Laura, they own the place, known for all the boots, but also clothing, accessories, and a cap for any team in any season. They've got Western wear, work boots, safety toe, soft toe, rubber boots, boots for every single occasion you can find at Hewlett & Dunn. And from head to toe, they have you covered with every brand imaginable: Ariat, Dan Post, Anderson Bean, whether for men or women. And they've got so many different type of clothing options: jeans, pants, shirts, shorts, outerwear, and the best duck head collection you'll find. Charles and Laura Hall invite you to 111 North Center Street on the square in Collierville, or to their website, hewlettdunn.com. They've also got you covered with accessories like hats, sunglasses, boot care products in every area, team snapback, or cool hat you can think of. Whether it's the Tigers, Mississippi State, UT, Ole Miss, or the Razorbacks, they've got in for travel. Their bag selection is top-notch. HewittDunn.com, but please stop in, give them a visit, and say hello at 111 North Center Street on the square in Carterville. That's Hewlett and Dunn. Well, we need to get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
The Crazy Coop, America's premier wing destination, has 27 delicious flavors to choose from and counting. Like the Buffalo Ranch, a perfect combo of ranch seasoning with a little kick. Mango Habanero, sweet taste of mango followed by the heat. Or sweet maple bourbon. The taste will remind you of chicken and waffles. And that's just 3 of the amazing 27 chicken wing seasonings that you can get at the Crazy Coop in Bartlett at 7199 Stage Road. And now open the Crazy Coop Express at 1315 Ridgeway off Poplar. Some like it hot. How about the Crazy Sweet Lemon Pepper Hot or Crazy Suicide? Can't take the heat? Get the 4-cheese roasted garlic or barbecue bacon bourbon. Ask about the $9.99 lunch special. Now those are some crazy good prices. The Crazy Coop, 2 locations, 7199 Highway 64 between Atlin and Kirby-Whitten and 1315 Ridgeway off Poplar. Family owned and operated, The Crazy Coop, America's premier wing destination.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
When you love somebody, you protect them in the best ways you can. That's why I recommend SimpliSafe. It's an advanced system that protects every inch of your home. Plus, it's backed by 24/7 professional monitoring for fast emergency response for less than $1 a day. Seriously, $1 a day. Order now, get 20% off any new SimpliSafe system with Fast Protect plan. Visit simplysafecolin.com. That's simplysafecolin, COLIN.com. There is no safe like SimpliSafe.
Did you know some ordinary cold medicines can raise your blood pressure? That's alarming! Fortunately, there's Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure. It's specially formulated without alcohol, sugar, or decongestants to provide fast, powerful cold and flu symptom relief for people with high blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure, try DayQuil High Blood Pressure, the daytime coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, colds, and flu for people with high blood pressure medicine. Use as directed and keep out of reach of children.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York, but many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It remains very slow over here on 240 eastbound between Billboards Parkway and Poplar all the way up to Walnut Grove. It's just like it was yesterday, actually, around this time because of that construction on 40 eastbound over here at White Station's been running slow for the last couple of hours. It has flooded a lot of extra traffic onto Sam Cooper because of that construction there on 40 at White Station. So going outbound on Sam Cooper as you head back towards the interstate is really slow. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your Valentine's Day headquarters. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Hewlett & Dunn, Boot and Jean Company in Collierville. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Back in Sports Time. We got about 30 minutes left in today's show, and a couple things I wanted to get to during What's Trending. First one, kind of the big story out of the NFL this morning. It was my not top story of the day, but I wanted to kind of get back into it. The Commanders have hired Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to be their next head coach. Been wondering what direction the Commanders would go. Dan Quinn has been a name that we've seen really ever since we learned there was going to be an opening in Seattle. It seemed like Dan Quinn was name number one up there, and then they go into a different direction with another defensive coordinator. So the Commanders go out, hire Dan Quinn. Brett, what do you think of this hire for Washington?
I think it's very Ron Rivera-esque.
Yeah.
It feels like Riverboat Ron in similar backgrounds.
Sure.
Dan Quinn lost a heartbreaking Super Bowl. Ron Rivera lost a heartbreaking Super Bowl with the Panthers. Dan Quinn with the Falcons in the 28-3 blown lead.
Yeah.
They're both defensive guys by background, training, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't see it being anything magical in old DC.
Yeah, I don't either, and it's gonna a lot of new in Washington with new ownership groups and new name and new quarterbacks.
Talking about new stadium.
Badly
needed.
They went one direction with quarterback this year. We thought that could be the future at quarterback, develop them a little bit in Sam Howell, and now it looks like they want to go in a different direction at quarterback. And so for Dan Quinn, though, I think you're confident defensively you'll have a pretty good group out there, but I just don't see that offense in Washington really improving drastically.
And oddly enough, the Wizards' announced move to the Virginia suburbs could help the Commanders trying to land a new stadium deal on the side of old RFK in the district. And I think that's going to be badly needed. They're never going back to the old name. They're not. But you can at least get away from that marketing logo scheme that NFL Properties drew up for you.
Yeah.
You could go back to it looking like Washington under Joe Gibbs and George Allen without going back to that nickname.
Yes. No, I'm with you on that. And so, now a new head coach up there, and for the Cowboys, what do? I mean, now you got to replace defensive coordinator. I've heard a couple of names out there, including Ron Rivera. I've heard some people throw out there for defensive coordinator, but I don't know what way they go.
Great Bear, great player, great Cal Bear, great Chicago Bear, good defensive mind, had the big year to get to Super Bowl 50, largely by Cam Newton's MVP year, but I think otherwise, stuck on blah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Very changing sports scene though in Washington D.C. Compared to the heyday of George Allen and Joe Gibbs. You didn't for some of those years, you did. For some, you had the Baltimore Colts.
Yeah.
But for a long stretch, you didn't have anything in Baltimore till the Ravens showed up. You didn't have the Nationals in D.C. You didn't have the prominence, the success of the Capitals.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you got a lot of people that the sports dollar can just go so far.
Yeah.
And they don't want to go out to Landover. And I'm sorry that FedEx is associated with it, but out to FedEx Field, when they first built out there, Jack Kent Cooke had such power in Washington with all the power brokers, from the president, cabinet level, Henry Kissinger, all of them. He got it designated and had a U.S. Post Office designated as it being Ralph John Maryland, combining the names of his son, Ralph and John.
Really?
That's how much stroke Jack Kent Cooke had.
Wow, that's incredible.
He could get anything done he wanted. Because all those people wanted tickets from him on
Sunday.
Sunday.
I mean, that's crazy. No, one name that is interesting to keep an eye on for the Cowboys in this D.C. job. And even Trevon Diggs has gotten on Twitter today and called for him to be their next defense coordinator. That's Al Harris, who is the cornerbacks coach, defensive backs coach, I guess you should say, for the Cowboys right now. A guy
Don't let the locker room hire the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Especially after you came up short.
Right.
It'd be one thing, after the Super Bowl parade, another Lombardi Trophy in the foyer of the Star, and the team pipe in on who they want. Not after that exit.
Yeah, no.
You play defensive back, and you let me worry about filling the coaching staff.
Right, and so it's going to be interesting to see what they do, and I think, Brett, that's going to be a big reason that you have to nail this hire if you're the Cowboys, because everybody's going to be talking about that last game for the Cowboys defense and just how poor of a performance it was.
Right, we always have, but we're certainly in a time now where locker room dynamic, chemistry, get along is very combustible. Social media that gets the blame for everything except for cracks in the sidewalk. It gets a lot of the blame, and it's impossible for somebody to go in and tell Diggs or anybody, a Tiger basketball player, a college football player, clam up on social media. We don't need you giving all your opinion. You see the players' families for the Cowboys and all their tweet storm that they're having and the consternation that they have over Dak. That is one of the dynamics going forward that almost is as important as having 5 stars or all pros, is keeping your locker room sane.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And now, especially with how big social media is getting, and for that matter, podcasts. I mean, we're seeing all of these active players having podcasts because
and they can afford it.
Sure,
and they should do it.
Yeah,
with studio setups that networks would dream of.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, you're right about that.
And they're all trying to cash in and maybe be the next McAfee.
Yeah, and so, it seemed like a couple years ago when we were talking about podcasts and athletes and podcasts, it was former players. And now you're seeing a lot of current players doing that. And I think as much as, I'm in favor of it, for it, if you're a player and you want to have that type of platform, go for it. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of owners out there. I think there's a lot of front offices out there that get a little nervous when they have players that are going to be so prominent in podcasts. And the first one I think of is Micah Parsons. And, there have been multiple times this season that there have been stories that have come out just because of things that he has said on his podcast and as putting the spotlight on this Cowboys team. And so, it's definitely something that is certainly new to these franchises.
And I will be consistent about kind of this theme going forward. And I did a show yesterday, and somebody at kind of one of those way too early look at college football shows, and asked me 2 or 3 things that you really hope for next year with Ole Miss. Well, number 1, good health.
Absolutely.
Stay injury free.
Yeah.
If you have that, then a lot of things take care of itself. Second, sane locker room continue. Just have no drama there.
Yeah. I mean, those are the two biggest things right now.
If you're winning, that good chemistry usually takes care of things.
But
the Yankees in the 70s, they fought among themselves.
Yeah.
But at first pitch, they were all back together.
No, you're right about that.
I got a text earlier from a friend that said, we were at the Wisconsin Parkside game, and I have the ticket stub.
Wow.
Went to all of them sitting in F North at the Coliseum. I know exactly where that is. And he said Heidelberg Student Princes. That was their nickname.
Interesting.
For Heidelberg. I don't remember Benedictine College's nickname.
I don't know.
I wouldn't begin to try to guess it. Sad news that I'm seeing on Twitter, and a lot of people around here will know him and certainly know the famous sports family. Dickie Nutt, assistant coach at Missouri, has announced that he's stepping away from the Missouri program as an assistant with Dennis Gates. And in the release, it said, I'm quoting, after a recent checkup, I was diagnosed with cancer and will begin chemotherapy treatment in Columbia early next week. I have a great team of family, friends, colleagues, student athletes, and doctors surrounding me. And it goes forward with he wishing the best to Mizzou basketball, and he looks forward to returning. Dickie Nutt, the second oldest brother of the four famous Nutt brothers in Little Rock from Central High, and a really good guy. Took Arkansas State to an NCAA tournament in 2000, and was later head coach at SEMO and been an assistant coach at a lot of places. And the Nutt boys could play some ball.
Yeah,
any sport, anything.
Yeah. Wow. I know that's super sad to hear. I hadn't heard that. But yeah, now seeing it, and obviously on staff at Missouri, and Missouri has had their struggles, but you never want to see someone in a program with something like that.
One of my favorite days at Ole Miss ever. First year, so exciting, great season. Beat Florida down at Florida, get to the Cotton Bowl, and at the Cotton Bowl big luncheon, it's a big deal. Tiger fans and media will know what I'm talking about. After that, they went. And at the big meeting, Brad Shams, the MC, voice of the Cowboys, voice of the Cotton Bowl, and that day, Houston Nutt gave me a ticket to the luncheon and said, here, I want you to sit at my family's table.
Wow.
And it was Dickie and Dennis and Danny and
That's awesome.
Miss Imogene Nutt, their wives and kids, 10 or 12 of us. That was a real honor for me to sit with a truly great family.
Wow, that's awesome. That sounds like a fun afternoon. But
and the stories were great.
Oh, I believe it. I'm sure all sorts of stories. But no, super sad.
Their mother tells the great story of when Houston was being recruited, and at the time, probably the most recruited player, Jerry Eckwood, would be up there out of Arkansas, and Coach Bryant comes in the weekend before National Signing Day, and Coach Bryant went all the way back to Fordyce with their granddad. Yeah. They grew up in Fordyce together, and like all the coaches, he was saying, "Oh, Imogene, you're spaghetti. It's just the best I've ever had." They tell all, and she said, "Bear, I know you tell all the mothers that. Don't give me this stuff."
That's great. Oh, that is awesome. No, I mean you get around some of those events and go to those luncheons, and you hear some great stories. And
great story. That was a fun day, and that day both starting quarterbacks would throw a game ball out to the crowd.
Oh.
And Graham Harrell was the starting quarterback for Texas Tech for Mike Leach. And the quarterback for Ole Miss that day was Jevin Sneed.
Really?
That year.
Wow.
And he and now both Jevin and Mike Leach both gone.
Brett, we have some breaking news before we get to a break that I have to share. Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that the Memphis Grizzlies are trading Steven Adams to the Houston Rockets for Victor Oladipo and 3 second-round picks.
Bring it on.
Wow.
Houston, I hope you did your medicals.
I don't think they did any medicals if they're taking Steven Adams.
Unbelievable.
That is really, really, and I'll be honest, one of my buddies.
Today's not April 1st. It's February 1st.
No, it's February 1st.
Put an April Fool's joke on me,
No, Brett, I had to look it up a couple of times because now, of course, with the way Twitter is.
Big Steve Adams, thank you, but yeah, I'll take it.
TYFYS, well, thank you for your service to him. I had to double check it, and I have not seen DeMichael Cole. Nobody here locally has confirmed that. that or said it, but Woj, and you got to make sure you got to like triple, quadruple check nowadays on Twitter that it's the actual
the real Woj.
Woj. I do believe it is the actual Woj because I got a notification about it. So it does look like the Grizzlies have in fact made a move, and it looks like Victor Oladipo will be a Grizzly.
Big move.
That is a huge move alongside those 3 second-round picks. Wonder if they'll work to move those and make another deal before the deadline. Well, let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Taco Bell Crunch Time.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry, and they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Bartlett Small Engine has free pickup and delivery both at your home and curbside for lawnmowers, blowers, edgers, and any small engine. Call 901-386-9779.
Roofs, and more roofs. Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair simply because they don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance claims for policyholders each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. Call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates, consultation, and claim repairs. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, diagnosing problems, and estimating is second to none, commercial and residential. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. All you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and Mulehide with labor warranties up to 50 years on all of our jobs. Metro Builders provides roof repairs across the Mid-South. Call Metro Builders to schedule your inspection free. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
We all appreciate luxury. We love the newest technology. We want something that sparkles and looks great. Well, I've got it all in one place. It's called Genesis of Olive Branch, right at the corner of Highway 78, that's Lamar, and the first exit in Mississippi, that's Craft Road. Turn left and you will see Genesis of Olive Branch. And right now, you can get the 2024 Genesis GV70 starting at $49,480 with special financing as low as 3.49% on select models. How about the 2024 Genesis GV80? A little bit bigger, starting at $55,995, financing as low as 5.49% with a $2,000 rebate when trading a luxury brand. Call them. They'll even bring you a Genesis at your work or your home for a test drive. They're convinced that when you drive a Genesis, you're going to want one. Call 662-890-6684. Ask for Vinny. Genesis of Olive Branch.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Jean Company in Collierville. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
How you like me now? 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 How you like me now?
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
The Double Steak Grilled Cheese Burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The Double Steak Grilled Cheese Burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Well, Brett, I learned a lot today. First, what we
news.
learned, what we just learned before the break. You asked me earlier in the show if I thought the Grizzlies would make any moves, be active at all at the deadline. I said I don't expect them to do much of anything.
I would have said the same thing.
Oh man! And now Victor Oladipo.
If we say up, they're going down, aren't they?
That's just how it goes, Brett. But
it's confirmed everywhere.
Yeah, it's the truth. And so Victor Oladipo and a handful of second-round picks coming back to the Grizzlies for Steven Adams. The other thing I learned today, I didn't really learn it today, but today was the first day of games for the Caribbean series. They're playing down in Miami where the Marlins play. And so representing Puerto Rico is the team managed by Yadier Molina.
Yadi.
That's right. He was managing a team this year that played in one of the winter leagues down in Puerto Rico. In all of those countries, the winners of those, they go and then they play in the Caribbean series. So he is representing Puerto Rico as the Puerto Rican manager.
We know so often managers or catchers become managers and sometimes great managers. That's kind of the position.
Uh-huh.
But we also know the whole thing about can a great player be a good coach, good manager. Yachty was great, wasn't he? You're going to the Hall of Fame, you were great.
Easily. First ballot, Brett.
But I do think he will be a great manager somewhere, someday.
Brett, I was telling John earlier.
And I want him to be, even if it's not in St. Louis.
Well, Brett, I was telling John earlier that Yachty was auditioning for St. Louis. I mean, he's getting ready for an opening to come about with the Cardinals.
About Mike McCarthy, don't start 0-3. Ollie Marmol, I wouldn't start 11-21.
No. You got to start positively.
Yeah, you do. I learned today, Mizzou must be really bad. Arkansas put it on them in Columbia last night. In Arkansas, they're trying to quit. They're trying to collapse. And now the whole non-conference portion of the Tigers' schedule, it's really being tarnished.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those wins just don't have any luster on them. Mizzou and Arkansas both.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And that was a game between two teams that are at the bottom of the SEC last night. And Arkansas got the win.
There were some real effort questions around Mizzou last night.
You were right about that, and really all season for both of those teams. What I could have done without, it seems like. Just yesterday, we were talking about the weird story out of Alabama with their baseball team where their head coach allegedly gave information about their team. Now we know a lot more, and we have the ruling from the NCAA for Brad Bohannon, the head coach for Alabama. This is what came out of it, that supposedly Bohannon texted a bettor, Hammer, the pitcher that was supposed to start is out for sure. Let me know when I can tell LSU. Hurry. So that's bad. That's is not. Really I mean, that is worse than I would have ever assumed. But the ruling down from the NCAA: 3-year probation, a $5,000 fine, 15-year show clause, and if hired during that 15-year show clause, Bohannon is suspended for 5 regular season games. I'd put the money that they put on LSU that night that there is not a school in the country that is going to get anywhere close to Brad Bohannon.
No, they won't. How long is this show cause?
15 years.
He's done.
Yeah.
He's not coaching again at that level or hardly anywhere else. I could have done without, again, the equivalency crowd. Yeah, I know FAU lost to a Quad 4 in Bryant, and I know Kansas loses, and I know Arkansas's had a kind of a NIL controversial year as well. That's all excuses. I mean, just here locally how quickly this has turned from, they do it too, from talking about being in the top 10.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild 2 weeks, Brett, to say the least. Where are you being tonight?
FedEx Forum, headed downtown for the Grizzlies against old friend J.B. Bickerstaff, 29-16. The Cavs, after Donovan Mitchell got his uniform number last night, 45 for 45.
Crazy.
12-8 on the road this year for Cleveland against 5-16 at FedEx Forum for the Grizzlies.
Wow, it's going to be a fun one tonight at FedEx Forum. I really do think. Being me though, tonight, the second leg of the doubleheader on TNT, 76ers and Jazz. The 76ers enter this game on a 4-game losing streak, have really looked out of sorts lately, but they come in with a 29-17 record on the road against the Jazz. Brett, I remember it does not feel that long ago that we were talking about the Jazz being one of the worst teams in the NBA. Now they're 24-25, looking to go 500 right now. They're a 5.5-point favorite tonight at home.
Lakers on the famed parquet in Boston for that great series. Wisconsin at Nebraska in the Big Ten. Tulane at SMU in the AAC. You watching?
I'll be watching.
Gaming
Why not?
on it?
Maybe. I couldn't tell you one way or the other right now.
Pacers at Madison Square Garden against the 31-17 and red hot Knickerbockers.
Brett, as everybody knows, I am one. I do not plan out my bets. I am a spur of the moment better.
Huh?
I'm a feel better.
You don't have that Waffle House play sheet in front of you on the sideline.
No, I do not. I'll tell you.
Draw it up in the dirt.
No, not at all. Jay Morgan used to get mad at me all the time because I would come running in a frantic at 6 o'clock after our show is over and go, I can't believe I forgot to bet on this team that played at 6 o'clock. So,
man the battle station.
Yeah, so I will not be prepared to bet on any of these games tonight, even though I'll bet on a ton of them. Well, that's all the time we have today. Enjoy your night. If you're going to the Grizzlies game, enjoy it tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock.